time to return to Lingzhong. Yuyu responded verbally, but she couldn't help but worry about Yi Ci's health. During their time in the ghost domain, his health hadn't improved, but had worsened. She wondered if he could hold on. Seeing her worried expression, Yi Ci smiled. Let's go back for the new year. I had Wendong and Kui Shuejie prepare many new clothes for you. Try them on when we get back. Excited about new clothes, Yuyu asked curiously, Yi Ci, why do you always wear white? And always the same style? Since I'm a girl, what color should I wear? Yuyu's eyes lit up. How about classic black? Yi Ci waved his hand. He wasn't interested in colors or styles, but since Yuyu had suggested it, he said he would consider it. But seeing Yuyu's increasingly pale face, Yi Ci felt a pang of unease in his heart, fearing he wouldn't last much longer. A month later, Yuyu drove the carriage, daring only to move slowly. Finally, they returned to the familiar Everbright army camp. Bianjiu, newly added to Juqiu's teachings, played happily in the snow. In the room, since returning, Luo had stayed by Yi Ci's side. Yi Ci once asked, aren't you going to find your butler grandpa? Luo shook his head. He was afraid that if he left, no one would know if Yi Ci felt unwell. Then Yi Ci said, Zhu Hong and the others seem to be busy with something. Go see them. Yuyu felt a little puzzled. Why did Yi Ci always want him to go out? Was there something going on with Zhu Hong that he wanted him to see? When Yuyu found Zhu Hong, he saw him holding a notebook and drawing in it. Zhu Hong shouted a name seriously. Service industry, Zhong Chibing, step forward, please show your year certificate of kingship. The soldier whose name was called stepped forward, and Zhu Hong drew his name. Then the second soldier was called out, repeating the same process. Yuyu was confused. The Everbright army was being demobilized. But the war was over. Why were they being demobilized? What was Yi Ci doing? Big Boss Yuyu could finally wear New Year's clothes. This was originally a happy thing, but it was destined to be Yuyu's most painful New Year. Because Yi Ci's father had died, others, when Yuyu saw them, were alive. But Zhu Hong was seriously registering the living. Yuyu felt strange because there were 50,000 soldiers in this group. Where would these people be used? Yuyu always felt that Yi Ci wanted him to see something, and he had been feeling anxious since just now. After thinking about it, Yuyu decided to go back and see Yi Ci. But as soon as he entered the camp, Yuyu was stopped by Wendong Kuizu. Little General, you must be tired. Let's put on our new clothes first. Hearing about new clothes, Yuyu was instantly attracted. I'll go find Yi Ci after putting on new clothes. So Wendong Kuizu showed the clothes to Yuyu. These were all personally designed by General Yi Ci, and he made a lot at once, enough for Little General to wear until adulthood. Yuyu felt warm inside. Unexpectedly, although Yi Ci looked cold on the surface, he was really good to him. He even put so much effort into preparing clothes for him. Soon, with Wendong Kuizu's help, the cute and beautiful Yuyu made a shining debut. Wendong Kuizu couldn't help but think, if only my future children were as beautiful as the Little General. Yuyu was very satisfied with his outfit, and it fit very well. Yi Ci's craftsmanship is pretty good. Yuyu ran to the study in a good mood. Yi Ci, don't my new clothes look good? Yi Ci didn't reply, just quietly closed his eyes and seemed to be sleeping. Yuyu immediately pounced on Yi Ci, trying to shake him awake. Yi Ci, open your eyes and look. The clothes you made really suit me. But Yi Ci kept his eyes closed, looking lifeless. Yuyu finally realized something was wrong. The unease in his heart grew stronger and stronger. He started shaking him vigorously, trying to wake him up, but no matter how he called him, Yi Ci didn't open his eyes. Yuyu couldn't help but reach out to Yi Ci's nose, but he couldn't feel any breath. Yuyu knew what this meant. Yi Ci was dead. A chill instantly ran through his body. Yuyu was terrified and shook Yi Ci desperately, but Yi Ci just sat there quietly. In the barracks, everyone was celebrating the arrival of the new year, hoping for good luck in the new year. Only Yuyu held Yi Ci's cold hand and cried helplessly, wishing it was all a dream. And in an unknown place, a palace, surrounded by countless treasures, suddenly vibrated with power accumulated over 10 years. A powerful aura emanated outwards. In the next second, countless figures rushed over at top speed. Soon, hundreds of people gathered. These people all looked strange and grotesque. They were all ancient demons who had cultivated into human form. They all looked serious, as if waiting for something. A shining figure walked out from within. These demons, who were all powerful figures in their respective domains, bowed respectfully. Congratulations, young master, on achieving the great accomplishment of the fiery divine dragon spirit. The figure stepped forward, the two dragon claws in front emitting a faint light. It was Yi, who was supposed to be dead. Looking at the demons bowing before him, Yi couldn't help but smirk. "I'm finally back." The girl desperately shook the man's body, refusing to believe that Yi's father had just died. But the stopped breathing told her it was true. Yinyou collapsed and cried loudly. Little did she know that Yi, at this moment, appeared on Dragon Island as the young master of the Dragon Clan. It turned out that the one who died in the barracks was just his clone. The Dragon Clan young master was his true identity. Looking at the demons bowing down, Yi couldn't help but smirk. "You are all excused." He announced his return. The demons cheered excitedly. "The young master is finally back. See who dares to say our Dragon Island lacks people." "That's right. Now that the young master's bloodline is awakened, we should quickly arrange a concubine selection for him." With an order, all the females on the island, whether flying in the sky or crawling on the ground, rushed over as quickly as possible. Yi was speechless by this operation. Truly, the emperor is not as anxious as the eunuchs. And it was so absurd, how could he possibly be interested? The Dragon Clan elder, Zhu Juin, descended from the sky. "How can a concubine selection be without me?" He grabbed Yi's hand excitedly. "Young master, quickly choose a concubine. Our Dragon Island needs your bloodline to flourish. For the sake of the baby-making plan. Take all the female demons on Dragon Island." Yi pulled his hand back with disgust. "If you want to go, go yourself. Are they all monsters?" Zhu Juin turned to the female demons and waved his hand. "Those who the young master doesn't like, step aside. Those who can't transform can leave." So at least 70 or 80% of the demons who couldn't transform left dejectedly. The remaining ones used all their power to transform, just to be chosen by the young master and have his offspring. However, some had soft hands, and some were too thin. Finally, with great difficulty, they brought a successfully transformed demon, Zhu Juin, to Yi. "This one is good, young master, take her." Yi took a deep breath. He really wanted to strangle this old fool. "I don't like this kind." Zhu Juin immediately sent several strong demons to quickly capture a few humans, not forgetting to specify they should be good-looking. But his young master said he didn't like humans either. "Ancestor, you're mighty. Then what does the young master like?" To dispel Zhu Juin's baby-making idea, Yi directly said he didn't like living things. This made the old man bitter. Unexpectedly, the young master has such unique tastes. "Hey," Zhu Juin leaned close to Yi's ear, "Young master, why don't I dig up a few skeletons for you?" Yi rolled his eyes and changed the subject, asking where his father was. Zhu Juin said that the Dragon Lord hadn't returned for several years. "Anyway, our island doesn't need him, just one dragon. Young master, you just need to work hard and have more dragon children." Yi didn't expect to be urged to procreate as soon as he returned. Not wanting to lose face in front of the elder, Yi grabbed Zhu Juin's beard and dragged him inside, making the old man howl in pain. He had so little beard to begin with, and now it was really going to be pulled out. Yi calmly asked, "Has anything major happened during my absence?" Zhu Juin replied, 3 new demons were added to Dragon Island, and the territory has expanded." Yi interrupted him. "The Dragon Island territory is already this big, how can it expand any further? Don't always think about war." Then Yi asked, "Besides me and my father, is there a third dragon?" Zhu Juin shook his head firmly. The human dragon war lasted for 1,000 years, basically wiping out the dragons. Yi's father only survived because he was in seclusion. In order to give birth to the young master, the Dragon Lord almost exhausted himself. "So, young master, procreating is imperative." Yi's ears were almost calloused. All right. What's going on with those divine legacy families recently?" Speaking of these families, Zhu Juin's eyes lit up. Yes. I heard that the 2 major families, the Yun family and the Luo family, are going to fight." Hearing about the Luo family, Yi frowned. "Does this Luo family have anything to do with Luo Yinyou?" The big boss identity was finally revealed. It turned out that Yinyou was actually the young miss of the divine legacy Luo family, and upon learning that the Yun family and the Luo family were going to fight, Yi couldn't help but frown and asked about the reason. Zhu Juin gossiped excitedly. It turned out that during Yi's absence from Dragon Island, the Yun family and the Luo family, two of the 9 divine legacy families, took a liking to each other and decided to marry. The wedding ceremony was extremely grand, and the birth of a divine legacy bloodline is always accompanied by an omen, mostly auspicious clouds, or divine light descending from the sky. But the Luo family's little goddess was different. 8 years ago, when the little goddess was born, there was thunder and lightning, and the thunder lasted for 9 days and 9 nights. What's even more amazing is that a bolt of lightning accurately struck and killed an old man hiding in a cave in the mountain. Later, it was found out that this old man was the notorious 12 Evils. He had originally planned to escape, but was killed by the lightning that came with the little goddess. Hearing this, Yi's mouth twitched, thinking, this is incredible. However, the Luo family's little goddess was born 8 years ago, and Luo Yin was also 8 years old this year. Yi couldn't help but suspect that Yinyou was the Luo family's child. Then Zhu Juyin continued, besides the lightning that lasted for 9 days and 9 nights, a black chain also appeared with the birth of the little goddess. It's the little goddess' natal weapon. That chain descended from the sky and directly crippled the eldest young master of the Wan family, another divine legacy family. 1 dead and 1 injured right after birth. This little goddess is not ordinary. Hearing this, Yi remembered the chain he had pulled out of Yi's body. He had thought it was something that bound her soul, but it turned out to be her natal weapon. Now Yi was certain that Yinyou was the little goddess of the Luo family. He didn't expect this little brat to be so extraordinary. Sui Ji asked if the Wan family was in chaos. Of course they were, but it wasn't a disaster. It was said that the Luo and Wan families jointly investigated and found that the little goddess control had a big problem. As a descendant of a god, she had a huge connection with demons. This was unbelievable. Moreover, after multiple investigations, it was found that the little goddess' inner root cultivation technique was the tree god's technique, specifically for killing gods. That's how the little goddess got her name. Someone who could control the life and death of gods. Simply too powerful. Hearing Yi's words, Ci couldn't help but curl the corners of his mouth. He didn't know why, but he felt very happy. Zhu Juyin patted his chest, relieved, because the little goddess disappeared during a space-time cultivation practice. Not only could they not find her, but even her soul was nowhere to be seen. Zhu Juyin thought, she was investigated by Long Cha and Feng Ying. How could she possibly disappear? Zhu Juyin suspected that the Wan family must have done something, but other families must have also participated. After all, besides the Luo and Wan families, the little goddess' threat to the gods was too great. So, why did the Luo and Wan families start fighting? Because the Luo family couldn't find the reason for the little goddess' disappearance, the Wan family definitely came knocking for an explanation. The little goddess' parents even coincidentally wanted a divorce. Later, both sides set a year agreement. Within years, they would use all means to find the little goddess. Whoever found her would apologize. If neither found her after 10 years, the two families would fight. BCI was dumbfounded. Good heavens, as expected of the parents of a troublemaker. Don't let her make trouble. Yinyou was still holding Yi's cold hand. He couldn't believe that Yi's father was just dead, but he just sat there quietly. No matter how much he cried and shouted, there was no response. Just as Yinyou had a new meeting, several emotional contribution points suddenly popped up on the system panel, and the person marked was the deceased Yinyou. Yinyou was stunned. What was going on? Wasn't Yi dead? Unaware that his fake death secret had been exposed, Yi was still worried about the Luo and Wan families fighting. The Luo and Wan families were basically equal in strength. If they fought, the result would be mutual destruction, and it might even affect the entire divine realm's safety. Yi rubbed his head in distress. None of them were worry-free. Moreover, if they were going to fight, they needed to decide on a battlefield. Unexpectedly, he learned that it would be in the ghost realm between the divine realm and Dragon Island. Yi was extremely helpless. What if they fought all the way to Dragon Island? I can't go and bring that little brat back now. Helpless, Yi could only ask if there was any other way to go to the North Realm. Zhu Juyin replied that going to the North Realm could only be done through the World Tree. He was a little curious why Yi suddenly asked about the North Realm. The North Realm was where Yi established his sect. And the new Ruo Mu tree was already in the Yun realm, and there was also a stone egg of a Baizi cub beside the valley. Hearing that there was actually a Baizi, Zhu Juyin was very excited. Since the ancient war between gods and demons, the Baizi had disappeared. If he could bring it back, he must raise it well. This was a powerful force. When the Ruo Mu tree grows up, we'll go and bring the little Baizi back to Dragon Island. Unexpectedly, Yi Si poured cold water on his excitement. I've already given him away. Whether he comes to Dragon Island or not is not up to me. Zhu Juyin was dumbfounded. Was the young master's brain damaged? Even a Baizi was given away. Yi Si ignored him. Tell me what the little goddess looks like. Speaking of the little goddess, Zhu Juyin showed a loving expression. The little goddess is simply too beautiful. When she was born, she was pink and tender. By the age of 3, she was even more divinely beautiful. When she grows up, she will definitely be a stunning beauty. If she hadn't disappeared, I would have wanted to bring her back to be the young master's wife. So, young master, dead people are smelly and rotten. You should find a living wife. Yi Si's mouth twitched. This old pervert only thinks about matchmaking all day long, and now is not the time to fall in love. Yi Si suspected that in fact, it was not only him and his father. Let Fu Zuyin investigate. Because Feng Ying's dragon core was forcibly extracted, which required killing a dragon to obtain, there must be other dragons that existed and were persecuted. Thinking of this, Yi Si was a little worried about his father. But when his father left seclusion, he already had a dragon core, and ended the dragon clan war with the power of a level 1. There shouldn't be anyone blind enough to attack him. Yi Si then decided to close off Dragon Island. He wanted to go into seclusion for a while. The man was clearly dead, but the corpse was still generating emotional contribution points. Yu was dumbfounded. How could a dead person still have emotions? Yi Si must be faking his death. Without thinking, he slapped Yi Si. You damn dog, are you kidding me? Stop playing, wake up. Seeing no response, Yu punched Yi Si's stomach desperately. Yi Si, wake up. We still need to celebrate the new year together. The next second, Yi Si's body began to disintegrate, turning into spiritual fire fragments and disappearing bit by bit. Yu was truly frightened this time. Ruo Mu Land disappeared like this without a trace. Yi Si, stop scaring me. Speak. Yu's cries attracted the attention of the people outside, who gathered at Yi Si's study. Zhu Hong curiously asked Zhong Qingshan, Little Jiao, what are you doing? Why are you crying so loudly? Zhong Qingshan didn't know either. He was about to go in and check. The mischievous Bian Jiu directly bumped open the door. Guess what? Just look at them, don't you know? But when they saw the situation in the room, they were all stunned. Yi Si's body had almost completely dissipated, and the crying they heard earlier was Yu's helpless sobbing. Yu ignored them, staring blankly as Yi Si completely disappeared before his eyes filled with despair. He refused to believe that Yi Si had really left him. The 3 fearless generals, who even dared to rebel against the emperor, were now on the verge of collapse. Zhong Qingshan had watched Yi Si grow up since he was a child, treating him like his own grandson. Seeing him die before him made him faint several times. Zhu Hong sat down pale-faced, finally understanding why Yi Si, still so young, would entrust everything to Yu. He knew he wouldn't live long, but Yi Laoda, without you, what meaning does all this have for us? Yu desperately tried to grab the spiritual fire fragments. Yi Si, are you dead or not? Can you give me a sign? Seeing Yu like this, thinking he couldn't bear Yi Si's death, and had collapsed, Lian Fu gently hugged Yu to comfort him. Zhu Hong also squatted down to comfort Yu. Yi Laoda is gone, but little Jiao, you are still here. No matter what, we must raise you well. Little Jiao, don't worry. I'll take you out first. Leave the rest to us. Just then, Yi Si's emotional contribution points popped up again on Yu's system panel. Yu was going crazy. So was he dead or not? After being led out of the study by Zhu Hong, Yu stared blankly at the falling snow. Yi Si, you're not dead, right? If you're not dead, why did you leave us? A strange-looking giant tree stood in the center of Dragon Island. Its 8 branches pointed in the 8 directions. This was the 5th Ruo Mu tree. Yi Si stood under the tree and looked up. Because only the North Realm's value was still fluctuating, which meant the Ruo Mu tree still hadn't taken root. A large bird-head demon teleported from the South Realm. Seeing the young master's return, he was very excited. Young master, you're an adult now, right? Where's the wife you found? Don't tell me you don't want one. Yi Si interrupted him. Why did everyone want to find him a wife? He really couldn't stand this enthusiasm. A beautiful young lady ran over asking for marriage. The old demon thought he wanted to marry himself. No, no, we're not suitable. The young lady gritted her teeth. I want to marry your young master. And the young master in her mouth was currently destroying the independent space. He shut himself in his room in seclusion. Bored, Yici held the broken jade pendant in his hand, its warm touch comforting his heart. This was the red envelope you gave him last year during the new year. Recalling Yu's sundry little expression at that time, Yici couldn't help but curl his lips. This was the first time he had received a lucky money. He wondered if that brat would be sad when he found out he was dead. Would he miss him? Would he blame him for leaving without saying goodbye? The news of Yici's return to Dragon Island had spread throughout the Divine Realm. Young cultivators flocked to Dragon Island, wanting to catch a glimpse of the Dragon Clan's young master. At this moment, the value of the tree pointing towards the delivery direction moved. The next second, a teleportation formation appeared in the sky. Several guards escorted a beautiful young lady out. The young lady was Luo Yinyou from the Luo family, and also Yu's sister. Sensing the fluctuation, Chu Juyin rushed over immediately, looking warily at these humans. People from the Divine Realm families, what brings you to my Dragon Island? Luo Yinyou calmly introduced herself. Luo Yinyou from the Luo family, paying a visit to the Divine Realm. Chu Juyin stroked his beard and imitated her introduction. Chu Juyin, Dragon Island Elder. Luo Yinyou glanced at him indifferently. Elder Chu, I've heard of you. Zhu Juyin couldn't stand it anymore. Damn brat, do you even know me? A disrespectful little brat, showing no respect when meeting an elder for the first time. Luo Yinyou's face flushed with anger. As expected of a lowly beast, no matter how strong you are, you can't avoid acting like an animal. After a moment of thought, she reintroduced herself. I am Shen En of the Shenyu Luo family, equivalent to Zhao Chu of your Dragon Island. There's no need to beat around the bush. Wen Yang, Zhu Juyin remained speechless for a moment. You want to be compared with our young master. You should take a look at yourself in the mirror. Luo Yinyou's expression changed slightly, but she suppressed her anger. I came with sincerity, Elder Zhu. At least listen to what I have to say. She took a deep breath. I came to Dragon Island to form a marriage alliance. Please arrange a meeting. Zhu Juyin widened his eyes in disbelief. What? What did you say? Luo Yinyou had never met such a narcissistic old man. She almost couldn't help but curse. I'm here to form a marriage alliance with your young master. Zhu Juyin waved his hand dismissively. Forget it, you two aren't suitable. Wen Yang, Luo Yinyou was displeased. Whether or not we are suitable is not for you to decide. I heard your young master recently achieved the true dragon spirit. I have now cultivated a demigod soul, which is a perfect match for him. But Zhu Juyin completely ignored her. Our young master said he doesn't like foxes. Why don't you die first and see if he changes his mind? Humiliated like this, the pampered Luo Yinyou couldn't stand it. Zhu Juyin, you've gone too far. I'll show you the power of a demigod soul today. Oh no, another older sister wants to be his future wife as soon as she appears. Zhu Juyin said the young master didn't like foxes, and suggested she die first to see if he changes his mind. The pampered Luo Yinyou couldn't stand such humiliation, and was ready to fight. Zhu Juyin sneered. With your meager cultivation, you dare to act presumptuously in front of me. At this moment, the value indicating Zhao Ji's direction changed again. In the next second, a teleportation formation appeared in the sky. The third elder of the Luo family's third branch rushed out in a panic. He bowed respectfully to Zhu Juyin. Our family's little girl is ignorant and has offended Elder Zhu. I hope Elder Zhu will not blame her. Then he turned to Luo Yinyou with a furious expression. Are you crazy? Dragon Island is about to close. Instead of consolidating your cultivation, you're running around causing trouble. Luo Yinyou retorted, it's precisely because I know it's about to close that Zhu Juyin was already tired of wasting time with them. He impatiently issued an order to leave. If there's nothing else, go back quickly. The third elder apologized a few more times, then pulled Luo Yinyou towards the teleportation formation. Luo Yinyou was shocked. Just who is this Zhu Juyin? Why is third uncle so subservient to him? News of Yici's death had reached the imperial palace. Dongguo Wu immediately reported the good news to Dongguo Long. Dongguo Long was excited. Now, isn't this our chance to take Lingju? Dongguo Wu, however, said that Bei Yudi had already sent the ninth prince there and told Dongguo Long to wait. Dongguo Long was dissatisfied. Why should that fool Zhenfei's son go? Is my son any worse? Dongguo Wu sneered. What are you so anxious about? Isn't it good to let that fool scout the way? When Yang, a sly smile appeared on Dongguo Long's face. Father, you're right. I was overthinking it. Compared to Dongguo Long's excitement, Junfei was in despair. Upon learning that his son Yang Haoxi was going to be sent to Lingzhou, Junfei fainted on the spot. While he was unconscious, Yang Haoxi couldn't come to visit him due to his busy schedule. This made Junfei very anxious, and he asked the maids to call for the 9th prince. He was informed that Yang Haoxi had already left for Yongan. Junfei knew he couldn't delay any longer. He waved his hand weakly, pretending to need rest, and asked the maids to leave. After they all left, Junfei picked up the scissors on the table. Yongan, who is right? The Beiyu royal family's prestige is long gone. Without anyone to guard the border, those men will never miss such a good opportunity. Sending his son to Lingzhou is a suicide mission. The royal decree cannot be defied, but if I die, as the deceased, Haoxi can use filial piety as an excuse to stay. With this thought, Junfei plunged the scissors into his heart without hesitation. Blood instantly stained the floor. The adorable child grew up overnight, no longer mischievous and playful. However, all of this was brought about by Yi's death. After the funeral, news of Yi's death reached the imperial city. Yu knew that, given their usual behavior, they would definitely choose this time to attack the Beiyu army. Yu decided to first recall the soldiers who had been disbanded. Although she didn't know why Yi had arranged things this way, there must have been a reason. Just then, a member of the Shadow Guard reported that several spies from Dongguo had snuck into the camp. Although they were all silenced, the Shadow Guard reminded Yu to be careful, as Yongan was currently in chaos. Yu frowned slightly. Those Dongguo people are quite fast. I guess the entire Beiyu is in chaos now. Not only that, Zhu Hong rushed in with the 3 fools. 9th Prince Yang Haoxi has entered Lingzhou. Junfei's plan to keep Yang Haoxi from going by dying had failed. Upon learning that his mother had committed suicide, Yang Haoxi was initially panicked. He held the imperial decree to Lingzhou to subdue the Beiyu army. Such an important matter, he couldn't understand why his mother would kill herself. He soon calmed down. He believed his mother would never commit suicide, so she must have been murdered. And the one who least wanted him to go to Lingzhou was Dongguo Guifei. So, when Shi Wei asked if Yang Haoxi wanted to return to the capital, Yang Haoxi resolutely chose to go to Lingzhou. If he gave up on Lingzhou now, it would be playing into their hands. Without hesitation, he mounted his horse, leading his guards and setting off. When I return with the Beiyu army, none of those who harmed my mother will be spared. A few days later, Zhu Hong showed Yu the route map of the 9th Prince's journey to Lingzhou. This 9th Prince is quite clever. He even knows to change his route. This way, those who want to attack him will have to replan. But Yu didn't think so. Yang Haoxi isn't that smart. Zhu Hong, do you think someone is influencing his decisions? Yu nodded. As expected, it won't be that easy for Yang Haoxi to reach Lingzhou. Li Xingyuan clenched his fists. Young general, don't worry. If he dares to come, I'll kill him. Yu and Zhu Hong were speechless. A fool is a fool. Is a prince someone you can just kill? The next morning, Zhu Hong received bad news again. Yu rushed out of the study. Is it about the 9th prince? Zhu Hong nodded. The 9th prince was assassinated as soon as he entered Lingzhou. Yu's face darkened. Not sooner, not later, but assassinated right after entering Lingzhou. The only killer Yu could think of was Dongguo Shijia, who wanted to blame the 9th prince's death on the Beiyu army. After all, if they wanted to cause trouble in the heavily guarded Yongan city, they needed a reason. Chu Teng rubbed his head. Let's wait and see how Beiyu reacts. Yi's father had just died, and Dongguo's lackeys were already causing trouble. Yu declared, unforgivable. Dealing with dogs requires extraordinary measures. The 3 fools were anxious. Yongan City had them, the 3 generals, as witnesses. How could they stand by and watch those troublemakers cause chaos? Yu rubbed her temples in frustration. Can you please not be so impulsive? Just wait. She turned to Zhu Hong. Are you sure all the troublemakers at the gate are from Dongguo? Zhu Hong looked at the list in his hand and nodded. He had already asked the shadow guards to investigate. Those people were Dongguo's private army. Yu then asked, is there any way to expose their identities? Zhu Hong said it would be difficult, as their identities had been carefully concealed. Yu waved her hand dismissively. Then we'll have to use extraordinary measures. Since they are being unreasonable, there's no need for us to be reasonable either. Before Zhu Hong could understand what she meant, Yu looked at Li Xingyuan. Yi's death a few days ago had stimulated Luo Yinyou, and unexpectedly, he had broken through to the Qianwu realm that very day. Today was the perfect opportunity for him to practice. She slammed the table decisively. Order Luo Yinyou to lead the troops out of the city and kill all of Dongguo's lackeys. Then she turned and instructed Zhu Hong to make preparations. After the battle, continue to disband the Baiyo army. The more, the better. Zhu Hong was confused. Young general, why do you, like Big Boss Yi, always like to disband living people? Yu smiled mysteriously and said something cryptic. Now I understand why Yi kept that 1/3 of the Baiyo army. It turns out he was waiting for this. Outside Yongan city, the Baiyo army stood guard, solemnly guarding the city gates. A large group of so-called righteous people demanded loudly that the Baiyo army apologize for the 9th prince's death and give him justice. The citizens of Yongan city were confused. What does the 9th prince's death have to do with our Baiyo army? Dongguo, disguised as a civilian, was the most agitated. Now that Yongan Hu is gone, you dare to kill even the prince. Who's in charge now? Come out. Inwardly, he thought, first create public opinion, make a big deal out of it, and let the entire Baiyu know that it was the Baiyo army who killed the prince. Just as they thought everything was going according to plan, thousands of rain swords fell from the sky with absolute power, targeting the crowd. Before they could react, they were pierced through like skewers, impaling hundreds of people. As the impaled people fell, the others panicked and fled in all directions. This is the power of the Qianwu realm. We can't beat him. Run! Luo Yinyou stood on the city wall, drawing his bow again. Then, with a loud shout, Baiyo army, kill them all. As soon as he finished speaking, the city gates opened with a bang. 1/3 of the Baiyo army charged out and began slaughtering. Dongguo's private army, pampered at home, was no match for the Baiyo army, who had been honed on the battlefield. They were instantly decimated. The citizens of Yongan city were stunned. This was a complete one-sided massacre. Just as Bai Jun felt it was over, a soldier suddenly cried out dramatically, clutched his chest, and fell straight to the ground. Other soldiers also staggered and collapsed, feigning their deaths. The commoners watched, dumbfounded. None of them are injured. How are they all falling down? At this moment, Yu rode out on Biangu, crying and wailing. The Bai Jun soldiers were already seriously injured and suffered heavy casualties on the battlefield. The remaining ones were surrounded and captured. Everyone saw it with their own eyes. My Bai Jun was besieged by the Dongguo family's troops. You must seek justice for Bai Jun. Child Yu, calm down. Someone will help. Yu's eyes were red-rimmed. Everyone, come and see. The Dongguo family besieged the Bai Jun soldiers. This is so heartbreaking. You must seek justice for Bai Jun. The commoners, seeing the Bai Jun soldiers lying on the ground, were filled with indignation. This Dongguo family is truly inhumane. Our Bai Jun soldiers fought for the country, and in the end, they met such a fate. What a crime. The news of the Dongguo family's attempt to annihilate the Bai Jun quickly spread throughout Yongan city. Yu cried so hard that her little face was red. Biangu was a bit speechless. How long did they have to keep up this act? Yu secretly smiled wickedly. What else? We must put on a full show. Otherwise, how can we deceive others? After the commoners dispersed, the dead Bai Jun soldiers got up one by one and removed their fake blood. They then piled the bodies of the Dongguo family's men together, and set them on fire. Luo Yinyou watched from the side, itching to join Zhen Wang and go south to kill ghosts. Yu shook her head. That won't do. You are now a Qianwu expert, the pillar of Yongan city, and the hope of the commoners. You can't leave so easily. Back in her study, Yu reviewed the day's events. Although the news of the entire Bai Jun's death had been spread, the prince's death still needed to be pinned on those people. After all, being accused of assassination would be disastrous. Moreover, proving the Bai Jun's innocence wouldn't be easy. If she guessed correctly, the 9th prince was assassinated by someone sent by the Dongguo family. How to confirm this suspicion was the key. This would require the hard work of Andu Laoliu. In the courtyard of the Jiafangxi, Xie Rongshuan, a member of Andu, dressed elegantly, was chatting with the slightly drunk 7th prince, Yang Wenbing. Yang Wenbing's face was flushed, clearly from drinking. Yang Wenbing leaned closer to Xie Rongshuan smugly. Do you know Yongan, who has also resigned and requested death? Xie Rongshuan feigned ignorance. Of course, I know. The whole Baiyu kingdom is talking about it, and it is said that the 9th prince has gone to Lingju to subdue the Bai Jun. Yang Wenbing laughed loudly. He insisted on going to his death. Isn't that asking for trouble? He's just a pawn in the Dongguo family's plan. In this royal family, besides me, who else has the qualifications and virtue to take over the Baizhun? Xie Rongshuan poured him more wine while flattering him. Your Highness is naturally the most noble in the Beiyu royal family. The drunk Yang Wenbing was very happy, and became even more unrestrained. The Dongguo family's troops have already assembled outside Yongan city. As soon as the news of the 9th prince's assassination spreads, they will immediately take action, and seize Yongan city. Xie Rongxuan's lips curled slightly. Good, he finally said it. Suddenly, Xie Rongshuan let out a seemingly accidental scream, interrupting Yang Wenbing. Rustling footsteps immediately came from outside the window. Hearing the sound, Yang Wenbing hurriedly looked out the window. Who's out there? Xie Rongshuan cried out in feigned fear. Oh no, Your Highness. Our conversation has been overheard. Yang Wenbing panicked and hurriedly ordered his men to block the news. Xie Rongshuan calmly picked up a brush, and began to write down the information. This is the evidence you said yourself. Thanks to Andu Laoli's efforts, the news of the 7th prince admitting that the Dongguo family assassinated the 9th prince quickly spread throughout the imperial city. Yinyou laughed upon receiving the report. We don't have to wait until tomorrow. The news of the Dongguo family assassinating the prince will be all over the place. And to prove that big birds don't eat bugs, I actually opened a bird's mouth and revealed a mouth full of meat. See, it eats meat. The maidservant beside her trembled, fearing that the monster would swallow Yinyou in one bite. In the imperial palace, Beiyu frowned as he looked at the intelligence report in his hand. The Dongguo family dared to attack the prince. They are too impatient. He didn't expect that the Baizhun without Yi would be destroyed so quickly. It seemed they weren't as powerful as the rumors said, but Li Xingyuan, a Qian Wujing expert, emerged right after Yi's death. I'm afraid the Baizhun will soon make a comeback. The Dongguo family's development also surprised him. They were secretly recruiting troops. Did they want to rebel? Beiyu clenched the report in his hand. It seems that action must be taken. So, on that day, Beiyu ordered Dongguo Guifei to be demoted to a commoner, and confined the 7th prince. Yinyou, watching her 2 bird pets, looked at the information sent by Andu Laoliu, and understood that Beiyu was trying to appease Li Xingyuan. However, without absolute certainty, Beiyu wouldn't dare to act against the Dongguo family for a while. A piece of information caught Yinyou's attention. Beiyu promoted Yang Xinyan to Grand Scholar, and Haifeng Li Xinyuan to Grand General. Was he trying to cultivate them to counter the Dongguo family? At this time, Daoren Jujiao and Huyan Feiniao started quarreling for some reason. They even started fighting. The 2 pets attacked each other mercilessly, showing no trace of their previous camaraderie in Shanggu. Yinyou had a headache. She really wanted to stew these 2 noisy birds. Annoyed, Yinyou interrupted their fight. I'm trying to read the report. Can you 2 quiet down? Biangu, sensing its little master was disturbed, immediately rushed out fiercely. It whacked Daoren Jujiao on the head. Seeing Daoren Jujiao being punished, Huyan Feiniao tried to escape without hesitation. Biangu wouldn't let it go, pinning Huyan Feiniao to the ground. Wendong Chueshue, watching from the side, trembled. Where did this little skeleton come from with such great strength? Zhong Qingshan returned, dragging 2 large baskets of worms. He dumped the worms in front of Huyan Feiniao. You must be hungry after making such a racket. Come, come, Grandpa has prepared food for you. Yinyou smiled and reminded him, but Le Grandpa, they eat meat. Zhong Qingshan retorted, how is that possible? They are birds. Don't birds eat worms and grains? Seeing Zhong Qingshan's disbelief, Yinyou jumped off the chair and ran to Huyan Feiniao. She pried open Huyan Feiniao's mouth, revealing 2 rows of sharp teeth. See? They eat meat. Wendong Chueshue, watching from a distance, almost fainted. Young miss, be careful. That's a monster. Yinyou closed Huyan Feiniao's mouth and reassured him. They can't hurt me. At this moment, an Anbu member rushed in. Young miss, bad news. Chen Kei has brought the Imperial Guard again. Yinyou was startled. She had a feeling that nothing good would come of this. Oh no, someone's coming to bother her again. As soon as Yinyou reached the gate, she saw Li Xingyuan and Jing Jun arguing. Elder Yi just passed away, and you want to take the young miss away. No way. Yinyou overheard that they wanted to take her back to the imperial city. Beiyu was really persistent. To prevent them from fighting, Yinyou quickly stepped forward and stopped Li Xingyuan. I have something to say to Chen Kei. General Li, please go back first. Yinyou blocked Li Xingyuan, and Chen Kai breathed a sigh of relief. He couldn't beat the Qianwu Jing expert, General Li. After Li Xingyuan left with his men, Yu approached Chen Kai and asked, "What did Bai Yu say to you before you left?" Chen Kai answered honestly, "He just said that I must bring you back to the capital. He didn't say anything else." Yu pondered for a moment. Bai Yu was testing Li Xingyuan's loyalty to ECI. This confused Chen Kai. Yu explained, "Bai Yu Kingdom only has 3 Qianwu Jing experts. The Emperor, Dongguo Wu, and Lingzhou's Li Xingyuan. Sending Chen Kai to pick me up is nothing more than a test of Li Xingyuan's loyalty to ECI." Chen Kai suddenly understood and admired Yu's sharp mind at such a young age, but he couldn't take Yu away too easily. Otherwise, with Bai Yu's suspicious nature, Chen Kai might also be suspected. Chen Kai expressed his understanding. "Tell me what you need me to do. I'll fully cooperate." Yu smiled slyly. "General Chen, did you bring money?" "Things are easier with money." Not long after, Li Xingyuan, learning that Yu was going to the capital, hugged Yu's leg and refused to let go, crying dramatically. Yu sighed helplessly. "General Li, you are a Qianwu Jing expert. Can you please stop crying all the time?" The Imperial Guards watching this scene were speechless. Such a crybaby could become a Qianwu Jing expert. Had their hard work gone to waste? But Li Xingyuan didn't care. He sobbed and said he wanted to go to the capital too. It would be too lonely to stay here alone. Helpless, Yu had to use her trump card. "General Li, don't you want the 10,000 flowers recipe?" Upon hearing this, Li Xingyuan immediately stopped crying and urged Jing Jun to take Yu away quickly. He wouldn't see them off. Yu was speechless. "Ha, men are all the same. All of them are pigs." Half a month later, Yu and her group safely arrived at the capital. Chen Kai reported to Bai Yu immediately upon arrival. Bai Yu didn't expect them to arrive so quickly. "Does Li Xingyuan have no loyalty at all?" Chen Kai's expression was unsightly. "He was lazy, and I couldn't beat him at all. I almost died in Lingzhou." Seeing no wounds on Chen Kai, Bai Yu doubted the truth of his words. Chen Kai gave a wry smile. Li Xingyuan has the will but not the ability. If I hadn't been afraid to completely offend Jing Jun, I wouldn't have returned. Hearing this, Bai Yu was immediately interested and asked Chen Kai to tell him more. In Chen Kai's deliberate analysis, Li Xingyuan was a person with no commanding ability. His victory over Qian Wujin was purely a fluke. Bai Yu had heard that Li Xingyuan was incompetent. So, Li Xingyuan is not a threat. Chen Kai continued, Li Xingyuan was previously only responsible for fixed-point deployments. If it weren't for Fang Yuzhan cooperating with him, his cavalry archers wouldn't be of any use. Compared to Yong and Hu, he is far inferior. Seeing him praise ECI so much, Bai Yu's face softened. "You seem to admire Yong and Hu quite a bit." Chen Kai didn't refute, and clasped his hands firmly. "Let Bai Yu and the invincible Yong and Hu, the only god of war." Before he could finish speaking, Bai Yu was already murderous towards him. "How much money can that brat have? There's no wine in this world that I, Bai Yu, can't afford. If there is, just use shadow guards to kill the owner." At this time, Bai Yu still didn't know what Yu had done in the imperial city. Faced with everyone's discussion about ECI, he just perfunctorily said he would consider it. "You may leave." However, Chen Kai didn't leave. Instead, he took out a document. He said softly, "Your Majesty, this is a list of expenses the princess incurred using her identity to buy things. Please take a look." Bai Yu smiled dismissively. He thought it was nothing serious. It was just a little girl spending money. How much could she possibly spend? However, the moment he opened it, he was instantly slapped in the face. It recorded Yu's detailed daily expenses. On the first day, she spent taels of silver to buy restaurants. On the second day, because she fancied a Kai Yanju, she spent million taels of silver to buy the entire supplier. In addition to many other things, she spent a total of million taels of silver. A wave of heat rushed to his head, directly raising his rage level 2. He slammed the paper onto the table, his voice trembling with rage. "Where is Yu?" Chen Kai felt like half his life had been taken away by Yu. His voice was a bit hoarse. She went to Dongguo's winery. The next second, the armrest was shattered by Bai Yu's furious slap. He was nearly driven mad with rage. "Confine her. Without my permission, she is not to be released." Chen Kai replied immediately, "I'll go and bring the princess back to the princess mansion." Bai Yu took a deep breath, suppressing his rage. "Don't confine her. Invite her back to the princess mansion. Yizi had just died in battle, and the people were still mourning. If they saw him treating Yizi's daughter poorly, it would surely lead to rumors. And in Dongguo's winery, Yinyou was righteously tempting the waiter to sell her the 9 Dragons wine. This feeling of throwing money at people was simply too familiar. Then Cheng Kei led a group of imperial guards and stopped at the door. Princess, we are here to escort you back to the mansion. Yinyou patted her belly regretfully. They came too quickly. She hadn't even finished enjoying herself. However, she didn't make things difficult for Cheng Kei. After all, it wasn't the time to cause trouble. Although she felt a little disappointed, it was not bad to have consumed Bei Yudi's rage points. So Yinyou, leading Zhong Qingshan and holding Shabian, returned to the princess mansion in a grand manner. Soon, the news of the princess' return spread throughout the imperial city. When Yinyou returned to the princess mansion, she saw countless fresh flowers placed on both sides of the entrance. Zhong Qingshan explained, these were bought by the people to mourn the young General Yi. To comfort Zhong Qingshan, Yinyou gathered a bouquet of flowers and presented it to him. Since flowers will wilt, it's better to make flower cakes while they are still fresh. Bian Jiyu also chirped in agreement. After bringing them inside, Yinyou looked at the flowers with a hint of sadness. If only Yi Ci was still here. Unexpectedly, the system popped up, showing that Yi Ci had gained rage points. Yinyou was speechless. So, dog Yi Ci, where the hell are you? Show your face. At least let us know if you're safe. The little devil Yinyou was finally going to kindergarten. Because she entered through the back door, she was looked down upon on her first day of school. But Yinyou wasn't fazed at all. She wasn't someone to be bullied. Just last night, Yinyou gained rage points from Yi Ci's emotions, confirming that Yi Ci was not dead. Yinyou wanted to find him, but Yi Ci hadn't left any clues. She couldn't have people search the entire world, could she? And what if Yi Ci had reincarnated? Turned into a frog or something else? Did she have to go and find him rationally? Just then, the door suddenly opened. A girl dressed as a servant excitedly jumped in. Princess, it's me, Yang Long. It's been years since we last saw each other. Yinyou recognized her as Yang Long at a glance. She hadn't expected him to stay in the capital with a different identity. Thinking of his romantic relationship with Qiu Rongshuan, Yinyou couldn't help but tease. Yang Long, Qiu Rongshuan has become a popular figure. Have you lost your voice from screaming? Speaking of this, Yang Long became indignant. He hangs out with those princes all day long. Those who don't know would think he's really a kept man. Seeing him so agitated, Yinyou quickly changed the subject. Haha, I'm just kidding. He's just slow to sell himself. She casually asked about the current situation in the imperial palace, and if there was anything special happening. This question revealed that Bei Yudi had already become suspicious of her, and had arranged a martial arts test, wanting to discreetly test Yu's cultivation aptitude. Yinyou was immediately interested. This kind of thing can be tested. Yang Long nodded. This was improved by the Dongguo family based on the Gui Jiaoyi. The Martial Arts Academy selects students this way. After speaking, Yang Long looked at Yinyou with admiration. Princess, you must be a genius among geniuses. But Yang Long was also worried. If Bei Yudi knows about your talent, he will definitely attack you secretly. Yinyou wasn't worried about this because her aptitude couldn't be measured. Yang Long was puzzled. We watched you train when you were little. Even then, your physique was not comparable to ordinary children. Yinyou didn't answer him, but instead asked about Bei Yudi's arrangements for cultivation aptitude. It turned out that every student entering the academy had to undergo an aptitude test. Those who could cultivate were directly assigned to the Martial Arts Academy. And those who couldn't went to the Literary Academy. And he also learned a strange thing. Most princes and princesses were students of the Martial Arts Academy. Only the highest-ranking Saint Princess, Yang Kailing, entered the Literary Academy. Hearing this, Yinyou was also puzzled. The little princess has the Ruo Mu Lingyun in her body. Her cultivation talent shouldn't be so poor, but this is safer. Besides, I'm here. I won't let anything happen to this little Ruo Mu tree again. The next morning, the Emperor's order for Yinyou to enter the academy arrived. However, this time, it wasn't the normal enrollment period. Dressed in her school uniform, Yinyou confidently walked to the academy. Fortunately, Yang Long had informed her in advance, so she wasn't caught off guard. The students in the academy were full of curiosity about the specially admitted Yong'an house daughter. They all wanted to see what talent this high-ranking princess possessed. Looking at the emotion points on the system screen, Yinyou smiled wickedly. Since you all think so highly of me, I wouldn't be doing you justice if I didn't earn some rage points. So, when the Martial Arts Academy teacher instructed Yuyu to step forward for the test, Yuyu immediately walked forward obediently, ready to slap those who looked down on her in the face. The little devil Yuyu decided to cause some major chaos. Looking at the moving compass in front of her, Yuyu figured out the principle. You just need to put your hand on it to test your aptitude. The rolling ball represents cultivation talent, and the stronger the vibration, the better the talent. The teacher next to her reminded, Princess, please place your hand on the surface of the sphere and remain still for a few minutes. Yuyu obediently placed her hand on the testing compass. At this moment, several rage points from Xinyang and Shindongguo flashed on Yuyu's system screen. Some people were eager to see the results. Yuyu smiled wickedly. The Emperor is not as anxious as his subjects. Don't be scared to death later. Feeling the metal sphere under her palm, Yuyu playfully curled her lips. A tiny wooden stick imperceptibly touched the testing compass. With a bang, a violent vibration came from the testing compass, and it became increasingly intense. With a loud boom, the testing compass exploded in front of everyone, scattering countless fragments everywhere. The students were terrified and scattered in all directions, covering their heads. The scene was chaotic. Rage points were increasing rapidly. The Martial Arts Academy teachers quickly shielded Yuyu, but they didn't notice that she wasn't panicking at all. But in order not to attract attention, Yuyu pretended to be scared and hid in the teacher's arms. After all, she was still a child. Not far away, Yang Kairan looked at Yuyu in disbelief, unable to believe that she had actually blown up the testing compass. Did she really have such powerful aptitude? Thinking of this, Yang Kairan's eyes were filled with fear. If this was true, he must kill this evil in the cradle. Looking at the shattered testing compass, the person in charge of the testing equipment suspected that someone had tampered with it. Teacher Wen Yang watched Yuyu fall into the city's private affairs. Could it be that someone is targeting the little princess, wanting her to be injured or killed in today's test? Then, the teacher's worried expressions popped up above the mask. Yuyu guessed what those people in the arena were thinking and was quite satisfied with herself. Her current body's strength was truly not a joke. Just her brutal experience alone had taken several years. Teacher Wen patted Yuyu to comfort her and asked someone to bring out another testing compass, and assured Yuyu Bao that nothing would go wrong this time, and told her not to be afraid. Yuyu mumbled, this time, I didn't plan on doing anything sneaky, so of course, it'll be fine. With a solemn expression, Jiang placed her hand on the testing compass and waited quietly. 1 minute, 2 minutes. 5 minutes passed, and the testing compass didn't show even the slightest movement. The robust teachers shook their heads. Just now, they thought they had encountered a decisive natural cripple. It seems it was really just a problem with the testing compass. The whispering students turned towards Yuyu. So this is the daughter of the Marquis of Yongan. Turns out she's just a waste. Helpless, Teacher Wen could only arrange for Yuyu to be placed in the Jingwen Academy. Yuyu didn't show much expression, obediently agreeing. Zhuang, Yang Yu, and Yang were excited. Turns out she's just a fake spiritual anomaly, Luo Yinyou. From now on, watch how I torment you to death. There was also someone who ranked first in the grade. Yet, the principal would pour tea for him. However, there were always those who were blind and came to provoke her. Because Yuyu was assigned to the Wen Academy, the teacher placed the student handbook and Qingjing in a ring and randomly gave it to Yuyu. Yuyu took it, but before she could put the ring away, it was snatched away. Yang Yuran raised the ring high. He finally had a chance to bully Yuyu. How could he let it go? Yang Yuran's palm glowed faintly. You useless waste without any cultivation talent, you still want to inherit Yongan and Juewei. How dare you? Yuyu didn't speak, just looked at him coldly. Isn't this guy crazy? Where did this sudden hostility come from? Remembering that even her dreams were about Yi, Yuyu couldn't help but wonder if Yi's death had stimulated him too much, resulting in a couple's psychosis. Other noble children also joined in, surrounding Yuyu. Each of them had ill intentions, and their mouths were as ugly as if they hadn't brushed their teeth in decades. At this moment, a voice rang out from outside. Dean Yong Yi Junzu requests the presence of Yuyu. Hearing that the dean had called for the little waste, everyone was instantly filled with regret. They hadn't even had their fun yet. While Yang Yuran was distracted, Yuyu snatched back her ring. She was very fast, giving him no chance to react. With her short legs, she ran. Running far away, she didn't forget to turn around and taunt Yang Yuran, crazy, the princess won't bother with you. Yang Yuran was furious, but didn't dare to chase after her. After all, it was the dean who had called for her. He could only furiously contribute rage points. When Yu found Chen Liangping, she saw him standing at the edge of the pond, holding ingredients in his hands. Seeing Yu arrive, Chen Liangping greeted her with a smile. Long time no see, little princess. You've grown taller. The two sat by the tea table in the pavilion, and Chen Liangping poured flower tea for them. Yu wasn't polite, and gulped down the tea in one go. Chen Liangping couldn't help but tease. Are you drinking wine or tea? Yu replied cryptically, wine, tea, whatever. Chen Liangping's old eyes narrowed slightly. Little princess, don't be too bloodthirsty. Yu didn't think much of it. As someone who wants to be a general, what's wrong with being bloodthirsty? But the world won't accept an ordinary person as a general. It's difficult to command troops without spiritual power. How can you be a general? Yu didn't answer but said, although Chen Liangping is trapped in the academy, he can still stir up storms outside. Similarly, even a person without spiritual veins can be a general. After finishing, Yu unceremoniously asked Chen Liangping for more tea. She had run too fast and was very thirsty. Hearing this, Chen Liangping was puzzled. Run. Did someone in the academy try to attack you? Unexpectedly, Yu waved her hand and said, I wasn't afraid of someone attacking me. I was afraid I'd accidentally kill someone. Then she asked about the investigation into the explosion during the test. Chen Liangping reassured her that there was a teacher in the academy whose soul was very special, specifically used for investigations, and they would definitely find the saboteur. Yu's lips twitched. That Dean, seeing as we're so familiar, let's not investigate, okay? Chen Liangping didn't understand. You were almost blown to death, and you don't want to investigate the culprit. Touching her nose, Yu sheepishly confessed, it was me. Chen Liangping was dumbfounded. So I'm the fool. That bear child is causing trouble again. It's so bad that the principal personally caught her. Yu was led by Dean Chen Liangping to a small room where an old man was waiting for them. Yu sat nervously in front of the old man. What do I do? I want to run. Seeing her fidgeting, the old man began to chant at a pile of fragments on the table. A wave of energy drifted towards Yu. Then, he suddenly opened his eyes and stared at Yu, as if he had really seen something. Yu jumped off the stool without thinking and turned to run. Being caught red-handed was too terrifying, but short legs couldn't outrun long arms. She was caught after a few steps. Chen Liangping warned Yu, behave yourself, or you'll suffer. Yu didn't dare to resist anymore, and could only obediently be thrown back onto the seat by the old man. The old man stared at Yu expressionlessly. Tell me, how did you destroy the testing compass? Yu was stared at so intensely that her body shivered. I didn't control my strength well, and accidentally blew up that ball. This was the first time the old man had encountered such a bizarre thing. How could an ordinary person so easily destroy a testing compass? Chen Liangping on the side confirmed that Yu indeed hadn't shown any aptitude. After all, the entire academy had witnessed Yu's second test results. However, the old man said that the testing compass could determine whether a person was suitable for cultivation, but it couldn't determine whether a person was a body cultivator. Chen Liangping was confused. After all, this was the first time he had heard of body cultivation. Common cultivation was divided into two types: spiritual cultivation and martial cultivation. One focused on illusory souls and elemental forms. The other focused on weapon souls and martial techniques. But in ancient times, there was another type of people. They defied the heavens with their powerful physique and cultivated pure physical energy. By tempering their bodies, they could use their physical strength to confront life and death. However, this was only a legend. Historical records only had fragments, and no one knew if it was true. So when the old man learned that Yu could destroy the testing compass with ordinary strength, he became particularly interested and wanted Yu to explain it to him. Yu was dumbfounded. Could she say she not only had physical cultivation, but also a soul, and was a triple cultivator? Wouldn't she be dragged off for research as a monster? So Yu could only feign ignorance, in just an ordinary person. Otherwise, how could I not have any spiritual veins? Upon hearing this, the old man became even more intrigued. That's not right. How did you do it without cultivation? This doesn't make sense. Chen Liangping also didn't believe that she could destroy the testing compass without doing anything and asked Yu to confess honestly. Having no choice, Yu casually explained to them, when the vibration frequencies are highly consistent, even a sound wave produced by a finger snap or a word can cause an explosion. Chen Liangping was completely lost, but the old man excitedly slammed the table, looking like he had a great epiphany. Yu was startled, not understanding his sudden outburst. The old man muttered to himself, I understand. The unsolved case from 12 years ago was because of this. The old man walked towards Chen Liangping, urgently requesting to return to the Sanchi Academy. He had figured out how to solve the case. Chen Liangping was shocked and instantly understood what the old man was talking about. Yu watched the two getting excited and felt speechless. It was just a random excuse. What did it have to do with any case? However, the number felt familiar. In the next second, it dawned on Yu. Wasn't that the year Yang Xinyuan's parents died? She was still recognized as a waste in school. Yet with just one sentence, she made the school's authority figure go crazy. The old man went to investigate the deaths of Yang Xinyuan's parents. Yu knew this wouldn't be easy. Watching the old man's retreating figure, Chen Liangping looked at Yu disapprovingly. Are you satisfied now? You directly drove the vice principal crazy. Are you afraid I'm too sane? Yu pouted. Look who's talking. I'll compensate you for a testing compass, all right. Since Yi Ci's death, she had inherited the entire Yi family's assets. Buying a testing compass was no problem, but the prideful principal didn't want to be controlled by a child. I don't need your compensation. I can just ask the emperor for another one. Yu scratched her head awkwardly. Does the current imperial palace really have the money to buy you a testing compass? Inside the imperial palace, Bei Yudi glared at the mountain of debt records. He frowned. That damn child really knew how to spend. If he, the emperor, didn't pay her debts, the people would laugh at him. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Bei Yudi slammed his hand on the table. He'd already bought everything. He couldn't let the people think he couldn't afford it. Wouldn't that be a joke? Just then, a eunuch announced that Yang Xinyuan requested an audience. Yang Xinyuan entered and respectfully bowed to Bei Yudi. Bei Yudi was satisfied. Although he didn't like Yang Xinyuan, her reports were much better than those of the ministers. After the report, Yang Xinyuan said that a merchant guild called Liuhe was willing to bear part of the little princess debt. Bei Yudi wasn't pleased. There was no such thing as a free lunch. As the emperor, how could he not understand this? Yang Xinyuan continued, explaining that the Liuhe merchant guild initially started in Beiyu. After securing business in Beiyu, they began expanding into Lingguo. Now, they held absolute dominance in other smaller countries. According to her, they also planned to expand into Tsuxingguo and Goingguo, showing their immense financial power. Bei Yudi grew suspicious. What was their motive for approaching him now? It turned out that the Liuhe merchant guild had wanted to return to Beiyu a month ago, but lacked the opportunity. The little princess debt was their chance. They wanted to develop large-scale trade and were willing to pay a fee, as long as the emperor gave them permission. Bei Yudi pretended indifference. How bold. Do they want to be the emperor? Inwardly, however, he was persuaded. He wouldn't refuse free money, especially since he was desperately short of it. Still, he had to see how much they offered. What percentage are they willing to give? He asked. Yang Xinyuan smiled enigmatically. Initially, they proposed a split, with for the emperor and for them, but the emperor refused. In the end, they agreed to a split. Bei Yudi's eyes widened. Are you sure? After receiving confirmation, Bei Yudi burst into laughter. Someone's offering me a pillow just as I'm about to doze off. Heaven helps me, the big devil king is going to start yelling again. Go Yezi is busy dying, then who will help him with his homework? Forget it, forget it. Let's eat a lollipop first, Ye Jing. Zhong Qingshan helped him organize his school supplies. Jian Zhuan snatched the candy away. Yu, be a good boy and study hard. Jixia Academy is the third-ranked academy. Studying there has many benefits. Yu became curious. Academies have rankings. What rank is our Yongan Academy? He took a bite of the lollipop in Zhong Qingshan's hand. He learned that Yongan Academy wasn't even ranked. Yu was puzzled. What's wrong with those who rank academies? Our Yongan Academy isn't bad. Zhong Qingshan sighed. Yongan Academy is a private school, not state-run, so it's not ranked. Yu waved his hand dismissively. What are the top 3 academies? Zhong Qingshan explained. The other 2 are Tsangyu Academy in Tsuxingguo and Yueju Academy in Goingguo. Yu vaguely remembered those countries, but couldn't recall where they were. Zhong Qingshan facepalmed. Young master, you're 8 years old. You should know the world's geography. Beiyu and Hanlai are the largest countries in the west, while Tsuxing and Goin are the largest in the east. Yu pouted. It's all Go Ye's fault. He's so busy dying that he hasn't had time to tutor me. Zhong Qingshan looked exasperated. Young master, you're destined to be a general, just like your father who became famous in the Zizwiking War. You can do it too. Yu calmly replied, I'm attending the Literature Academy, not the Military Academy. Zhong Qingshan was thunderstruck. What? Literature Academy? He raised his voice in panic. Young master, you're supposed to be a general. How can you attend the Literature Academy? I'm going to talk to the principal. Zhu Hong arrived to deliver documents just then, and was startled by Zhong Qingshan's outburst. He stood hesitantly at the door. Zhu Hong looked at Yu Yu with concern. Young master, is there any urgent news? Yu Yu glared at him. Why are you looking at me like a wronged wife? Yu Yu was busy with school, leaving Zhu Hong to handle the dark division. No wonder you look so tired. You haven't even had time to find a wife. Yu Yu smirked. Go south and check on the situation with Bai Jun's men. Consider it a vacation. Zhu Hong immediately agreed. The next morning, a group of 7 or 8 people gathered at the academy gate. Led by Dongguo Wenhao, they heard Yu Yu was attending the Literature Academy, and came to intimidate him. When Yu Yu's carriage arrived, Dongguo Wenhao kicked the carriage. The carriage and driver tumbled over. The group laughed, thinking Yu Yu must have fallen inside. However, Yu Yu calmly walked out, eating a lollipop. He had experienced such petty tricks countless times in his past life. No one born yet could force him to fight. The group was surprised to see Yu Yu unharmed. He hadn't even looked at them. Yu Yu held up 3 fingers. 4 horses, 1 carriage, plus the contents, a total of 300 taels. Pay up, please. They were speechless. Did he think they looked like they would pay? This kid was crazy. Out of nowhere, a group of older students appeared. You're not worthy of being in the same class as me. Yu Yu calmly ate his lollipop. He even gestured to Xiao Ba, demanding compensation for emotional distress. Xiao Ba and the others were stunned. They burst into laughter. Does he really think He's the legitimate daughter of Yongan? He's just a random kid. How dare he ask us for money? He's so naive. Yang Yuran sneered. Now you're on my turf. Just wait and see how I torment you, you little brat. He plotted to make Yu Yu's life a living hell. Suddenly, a figure descended from the sky. A series of crashes followed, and the group of students fell to the ground. Yang Yuran's eyes widened in recognition. How could he forget? Even without ECI, there was still the world-renowned young master Hongzai. Zhu Hong looked at the students impassively. Do you really think our Bai Jun is nobody? How dare you bully our young master? He dragged Dongguo Wenhao to Yu Yu. Young master, how should we deal with him? Yu Yu tossed his lollipop stick. Make him pay, of course. Yu Yu winked at Zhu Hong, and Zhu Hong instantly understood. He walked to Dongguo Wenhao and snatched the pouch from his waist. He handed it to Yu Yu. Let's see what treasures this young master has. He dumped the contents on the ground. Some jewelry, scrolls, and a letter. Yu Yu pocketed the jewelry and picked up a scroll. He opened it and smirked. It contained a detailed record of Sheng Gongzhu Yang Qiling's daily life, including every conversation she had. Yang Yuran's eyes widened in horror. Dongguo Wenhao was his cousin. How dare he spy on a member of the royal family? If he were implicated, he could be executed. Yang Yuran was terrified. Dongguo Wenhao wanted to beg for mercy, but Zhu Hong's attack had left him speechless. Yu Yu picked up the second scroll and read aloud. It records the qualifications and achievements of all the noble children. Interesting. He picked up the last scroll. The information inside was even more shocking. Detailed records of grain purchases and transportation to Han Guo. The other students were stunned. He's a traitor. Yu Yu feigned innocence. Oops. Was I not supposed to say that? Why didn't you tell me sooner? Dongguo Wenhao was so furious he coughed up blood. Yu Yu decided to be kind and burn the evidence. He lit the scroll with a fire starter. The flames rose. Dongguo Wenhao could only watch helplessly as the scroll burned. He was doomed. Yu Yu had finally made his move against Yang Qiliang. Tell me and I'll let you go. Even if you hide under the table, I'll still find you. But for now, he had to deal with Dongguo's dog. Dongguo Wenhao was now a confirmed traitor. Others didn't know the truth, but the rumors spread by Yu Yu claimed that Dongguo was full of beautiful women who could be taken as concubines. Dongguo Wenhao fainted from anger. Yu Yu's goal was achieved. Now it was up to Dongguo to face judgment. Yu Yu's deception skills were becoming increasingly sophisticated. If there were an award for it, he would surely win first place. Zhu Hong was also impressed. No wonder Yi Lao chose him as his successor. In just a few words, he turned Dongguo into a traitor. Dongguo is finished. The Dongguo family's supervision of their disciples and the general selling of information to the empire spread throughout the various clans through gossip. So during class, the students weren't paying attention at all. They just wanted class to end quickly so they could go see the commotion. The teacher, also disinterested in teaching, dismissed the students early. Only Yinyou was disappointed. He hadn't heard enough yet. These people only cared about gossip and never about history or politics. What a waste. Moreover, several major clans had been dissatisfied with the Dongguo family's arrogance for a long time. Now, with the chance to bring down the Dongguo family, how could they possibly let it go? It all depended on whether the Dongguo family's Qianwu expert could withstand the pressure. After packing his things, Yinyou was about to return home when he saw a familiar figure around the corner. Isn't that Yang Qiliang? Yang Qiliang also saw him, and her mind instantly went blank. The painful memories of being beaten up by Yinyou as a child were deeply ingrained in her. Although her mind froze, her body instinctively hid behind a rock. Mommy. I hope he doesn't see me. He doesn't see me. The next second, she was lifted into the air by Yinyou. Yang Qiliang watched herself rise helplessly. Wasn't Yinyou supposed to be unable to cultivate? Why is he so strong? Someone, please save me. She unconsciously generated a lot of fear points, showing how terrified Yang Qiliang was of Yinyou. Yinyou threw Yang Qiliang to the ground. Why are you still so timid? Yang Qiliang looked as pitiful as could be. Isn't it because I'm afraid you'll hit me? Yinyou rolled his eyes and casually asked Yang Qiliang what she had been learning recently. Etiquette, women's crafts, and tea ceremonies. Yinyou frowned. It wasn't that these things were bad, but they shouldn't be the main focus of her studies. Thinking this, Yinyou took Yang Qiliang's textbooks to look them over. Yang Qiliang didn't dare resist and obediently took out her textbooks from her storage ring. Yinyou only realized after flipping through them that there were hidden meanings within. Etiquette taught the governance of the various states of Beiyu. Women's crafts covered the situations of different factions and clans. And tea ceremonies actually included cultivation techniques. Understanding the situation, Yinyou returned the books to Yang Qiliang and instructed her, study hard. If I find out you're not serious, they'll break your legs. Just then, Bien Gus's cheerful shouts caught Yuyu's attention. Bien Jiyu was running towards them happily. He crashed headfirst into Yuyu's arms. Despite the impact, Yinyou steadily caught Bien Gus's enthusiastic embrace. Yang Qiliang, knocked down by the impact, was shocked. She didn't understand how Yinyou, who couldn't cultivate, managed to do that. Zhong Qingshan arrived with Bien Jiyu, looking anxiously at Yinyou. I heard the carriage was destroyed this morning. This is terrible. Let's go home quickly. What if someone finds out? Yinyou retorted, this isn't something I should take the blame for alone. Your family was also involved, principal. Last night, Yinyou was reviewing his homework, when Zhu Hong brought news from Beiyu. The siege of the Dongguo family had come to a conclusion. The various clans' crusade against the Dongguo family had reached a fever pitch. Beiyu had emerged victorious under the pressure, and was arresting Dongguo rebels. Furthermore, to prove their commitment to the people, Beiyu had personally crippled the cultivation of Dongguo Rong, the imperial concubine, and imprisoned her. Imprisoned alongside her was Princess Yang Yuran. Yinyou clapped his hands in delight. The Dongguo family is truly finished this time. As for the Qianwu expert Dongguo Wu, after being besieged and fighting for days and nights, he fled to a remote area. Yinyou didn't think Dongguo Wu could cause much trouble. Even if he tried anything, could he possibly succeed under Yinyou's watch? Zhu Hong was increasingly impressed with Yinyou. No one would have guessed that the one who calmed the Dongguo storm was a little child. He had to admire Yi Laoda's discerning eye. Unexpectedly, the next day at school, Yinyou was called in by the dean for a talk. Besides Chen Liangping, Yang Xinyuan was also present. Both of them looked at him with a smile. Come, sit down and have some tea. Yinyou knew without a doubt that Chen Liangping had discovered the truth about the Huanju. He was truly a tiger away from its lair. Sure enough, Chen Liangping's first words were, the burnt Huanju can actually be restored. You underestimated the investigative abilities of the 3rd Division. There are plenty of Seoul investigators working on this matter. Yinyou just gave a faint smile. Dean Chen, aren't you afraid I'll report you? Yinyou calmly pointed to Yang Xinyuan beside him. One of the 3rd Division's disciples is mine. What am I afraid of? Chen Liangping glanced at Yang Xinyuan meaningfully. Yang Xinyuan touched his nose, tacitly agreeing. Chen Liangping sighed. The files in the 3rd Division have already been destroyed. I wanted to help you, but I was too late. Yinyou pointed to his own chest. The 1st Division might be the best, but this kind of small matter is easy to handle. Chen Liangping looked intrigued. It seems Yi left you quite a bit. Yu nodded. Dean Chen, do you still want to return to the Chaotang? Chen Liangping laughed and pointed at himself. You even want to bribe me? Yu waved his hand dismissively. Don't put it so crudely. This is called justice. Chen Liangping took a deep breath and asked, after so many years of investigating the Zuan case, do you have any guesses? Yu blinked his large eyes innocently. I don't even know the contents of the NG. What guesses could I have? Chen Liangping smiled. With your methods, let alone Huang Cheng, I'm afraid there's nothing you can't find out in the entire Beiyu. The dumbfounded Yang Xinyuan couldn't help but interject. Beiyu is next door to Hanguo. He can even find out things about Hanguo. Chen Liangping was speechless. Good heavens, is he omniscient? Yu was interested in that case back then. He had found out something, but he didn't dare to say it. Chen Liangping nodded. Indeed, the case cannot be overturned. It can only remain a Zuan case. Let me guess. The case of Prince Yang Jun and Princess Chang was officially recorded as death by bridge collapse, and many people testified that no one else was on the bridge at the time. However, Vice Dean Yu Tsaihu had a breakthrough after I mentioned the word earthquake, indicating that he had already suspected the cause of the bridge collapse. By investigating the local earthquake situation that year and the details of the bridge's construction and repairs, one can deduce the truth. So the bridge collapse was man-made, right? Chen Liangping was secretly impressed. This little guy was really something. Yu finally broke through, fear points. He was practically radiating joy. The two people beside him thought he was having a seizure. Yu snapped back to attention and urged, quickly arrange the Zuan case of Yang Xinyuan's parents. That's the priority. The Vice Dean and Yu Tsaihu have already investigated some clues, but he didn't dare to reveal them, which means he must have found evidence pointing to someone very powerful. Yang Xinyuan also knew that now was not the time for revenge. He had to gather sufficient evidence before he could act against that person. Then Yu warned Chen Liangping, it's best not to let anyone know that Yu Tsaihu is investigating this matter, in case someone interferes. After receiving Chen Liangping's assurance that he would handle it discreetly, Yu planned to go back to class. After all, he was a student now. Moreover, he didn't know much about court matters, so it was better to leave it to professionals. The night sky twinkled with starlight. Bian Jiyu slept soundly under the starry sky. His beautiful mane, which had been shaved by Yu, was finally growing back. Yu, however, was wide awake, staring at the fear points on the panel. Yu was thrilled. He only had 3 suppression nails left. Except for the third nail, which had specific removal requirements, he could remove the other 2 now. He was looking forward to the moment of complete removal. Would he gain some awesome abilities? So Yu unhesitatingly chose to remove the suppression nail. The system immediately responded with a mechanical voice, removing the TH suppression nail. Calculating the cost, 1 removal required, fear points, and he had, which meant he could remove 3 at once. Seeing the prompt extraction successful, Yu was so happy he almost jumped for joy. This was the first time he had removed a nail using the system. Previously, Yi had always removed them for him. Thinking of Yi, Yu felt angry. Because the system somehow shared Yi's fear points, he was certain that Yi wasn't dead. But if he wasn't dead, why hadn't he returned? With a clang, the 7th suppression nail fell from Yu's body. Yu picked it up excitedly. Good job, you dog system. The system's process continued, extracting the fear points for the 2nd nail. As the system extraction succeeded, the 2nd nail also fell with a clang. Yu happily put away the 2 nails, feeling an indescribable comfort. He hadn't expected it to go so smoothly, so he decided to remove the last nail in one go, but the system issued a series of warnings. It advised Yu to keep the 3rd, wind soul nail. Yu was immediately dumbfounded, his voice rising in pitch. Dog system. What are you trying to pull now? Bian Jiyu, sleeping soundly next to him, was startled awake by the loud noise. What happened? Is there a thief? Go back to sleep, you glutton. Yu's face was darkened by anger at the system. Poor Bian Jiyu bore the brunt of his fury. Crawling back to his spot, Bian Jiyu wondered what he had done to provoke Yu. Human emotions were so complicated, the system began to explain. If Yu removed the 3rd, wind soul nail, his bloodline would be awakened, and his aura would be detectable by his enemies. After reading this, Yu was stunned. What enemies? What enemies did he have? This little boy could grab a chain charged with electricity, and not only survive, but also swing it around. Yet, despite being so powerful, the system claimed he had enemies. Yinyou carefully studied the system's analysis. Even the system warned him to be cautious, which indicated the enemy's strength. But this wouldn't stop Yinyou. With 2 nails removed, he could use both of his soul spirits and finally start cultivating. The most important thing right now is to get my cultivation going and increase my strength. Then he'll definitely be able to teach that dog Go Yinyou a lesson. Yinyou then asked the system again who sealed him, but not to answer if it cost more than points. The system, as expected, remained silent. Yinyou couldn't help but curse the dog system again. Other people's systems gave this and that, so why was his system so stingy? Helpless, Yinyou could only study his own changes first. The first thing was the chain within his body. It was covered with harmless electric current and looked quite powerful. Now he could take it out at will, but he didn't know how to use it, so Yinyou tried to silently command it to shrink. To his surprise, the chain really shrunk into a tiny size, wrapping around his fingertip. Yinyou was amazed by this scene. As expected, what the novel said was true. This was too magical. Excitedly, he stood up and swung the chain around on the bed. Because the chain carried electric current, sparks flew in the air with crackling sounds. Yinyou, frightened by the faint electric current, didn't dare to move. It remembered the painful experience of being electrocuted by Yinyou's lightning, and didn't want to feel that near-death experience again. So, Yinyou obediently contributed points. Yinyou looked at Yinyou disdainfully. Silly Yinyou, you're so timid, even smaller than a mouse. Yinyou mumbled, it's your lightning chain that's terrifying, okay. But only squeaking sounds came out. Yinyou had no idea what it was saying. He didn't understand mouse language. He spread the cultivation techniques he had collected on the bed, and started flipping through them one by one, intending to find a cultivation technique suitable for himself. But after reading through all of them, he didn't find any 3-attribute cultivation techniques. They were either dual attribute or single attribute, none related to his lightning attribute. The only one related to lightning cultivation was incomplete. Helplessly, Yinyou could only ask the dog system how many points were needed to get a cultivation technique. The dog system didn't even give him a choice and started deducting points directly, whole points. Yinyou broke out in a cold sweat, and hurriedly stopped it. Fortunately, he stopped it in time. The system's deduction failed and stopped. Yinyou breathed a sigh of relief. Damn system, can you not be so arbitrary? At least give me some options. This time, the system didn't make things difficult for Yinyou and gave him 3 options. Yinyou immediately took a liking to the third option, the repair function. Unexpectedly, the system is quite capable. It can actually repair the cultivation technique with just this fragment. But points is too expensive. However, Yinyou also knew that although the system was stingy, the higher the points it charged, the better the results. After thinking it through, Yinyou decided to repair the incomplete technique. He wanted to see how powerful the technique that cost him points was. As soon as he finished speaking, the system started deducting points. With the successful deduction of points, the incomplete cultivation technique floated in front of Yinyou and began to repair itself bit by bit. Then the system prompted that this was a body movement technique called Qian Yun Lei Fa, a fragment from the Great War, years ago that landed in the northern region. Yinyou rolled on the ground excitedly. This name sounds awesome. I'm really lucky. He entered a meditative state on his first try, a talent envied by countless cultivators. Although Qian Yun Lei Fa was a divine technique, all cultivation techniques involved absorbing spiritual energy into the body and then circulating it through the meridians. Some people spent years just trying to open up their meridians. Yinyou didn't know if it was because Yinyou had poured spiritual energy into him for years. But as soon as he started using the technique, he felt all his pores open and began to absorb the spiritual energy in the air frantically. A tornado formed by spiritual energy began to swirl around Yinyou, emitting crackling electric currents. The objects in the room were tossed around by the powerful suction force of the spiritual energy. Poor Yinyou was scared out of its wits by this terrifying scene. It screamed and ran outside. This human is at it again. He's a pervert. Someone save me. Such a commotion quickly attracted the attention of the Anbu personnel, who gathered around Yinyou's room, fearing that something had happened to the young master. But when they saw the dense spiritual energy gathered around Yinyou, they were all shocked. What kind of cultivation technique is the young master practicing? It looks incredibly powerful. When Yinyou finished cultivating, it was already the next morning. He opened his eyes to see a messy room. Yinyou, after a night of terror, had shrunk into a ball. It felt very resentful and wronged, having contributed points for nothing. Yinyou didn't care about that. He closed his eyes and began to sense his surroundings. He could clearly feel that his strength, hearing, and vision had all improved several times, and his body felt indescribably light and comfortable. So this is cultivation. No wonder Baudi is so addicted to it. A delicious aroma wafted into Yuyu's nose. Yuyu immediately knew it was the smell of roasted chicken legs. He immediately flicked Bianjiyu on the head. Stinky Bianjiyu, did you sneak a snack while I was cultivating? Bianjiyu felt extremely wronged. I ate something. How come I don't know? Yang Long looked at Yuyu, whose temperament had obviously changed, and was surprised. Has young master gained cultivation after just one night? Yuyu pointed at himself curiously and asked, can't you see my cultivation? The dozen Anbu members shook their heads. They really couldn't tell. Yuyu then took out the mask Yi had given him from his waist, suspecting that it was the mask's doing. Because Yi had told him that the mask had the function of concealing cultivation, Yuyu sensed the spiritual energy fluctuations within his body. After just one night, his cultivation had already reached the late stage of Huang Wu. His cultivation speed was incredibly fast. At this time, Zhong Qingshan came in with breakfast. Young master, have some food to replenish your energy. But Yuyu was in a hurry to go out, so he could only grab some to eat on the road. So Yuyu ate his breakfast while riding Bianjiyu to the Liu He Chamber of Commerce. Looking at the seemingly extravagant decorations before him, Yuyu couldn't help but twitch his lips. This is a bit too much, isn't it? Anbu Lao Liu saw his young master arrive, and hurriedly went forward to lead Yuyu inside. As soon as Yuyu entered, he saw an old man waiting for him. Tell me, what's the matter? The old man directly tore off his beard and wig, revealing a youthful face. It was Jian Kongxiu, one of the Anbu Lao Liu. Yuyu had the largest bank, but he still looked gloomy, because his subordinate kept saying he wanted to quit. Jian Kongxiu couldn't understand why a young man in his early 20s insisted on dressing up as a half-dead old man and guarding the shop every day. Yuyu looked at the discarded costume props. Why are young people these days so hard on themselves? Isn't such an easy job good? Moreover, we are short of manpower. The organization lacks members who can manage the Chamber of Commerce. The fact that you can handle it proves your ability. But Jian Kongxiu didn't want to do business at all. A promising young man like him should be like Big Boss Zhu Hong, killing bad guys silently. Moreover, he had already reached the late stage of Huang Wu in just a few years, clearly a genius. He shouldn't be wasting his talent here. He should be on the front lines killing enemies. That's what's cool. Yuyu rolled his eyes. Alright. I'll arrange for you to kill enemies after you become a Zhenwang. Before that, you have to guard the Chamber of Commerce. Seeing that Jian Kongxiu didn't understand what he meant, Yuyu continued, I asked you to play an old man because old people die quickly, silly. Jian Kongxiu was stunned. No way, young master. You can do that. Yuyu patted his shoulder calmly and explained, our Liu He Chamber of Commerce is so ostentatious. How could Baudi, as the emperor, let you roam freely in his territory? He agreed to our conditions only because he wants to stabilize the Liu He Chamber of Commerce. You know, Baudi has entered the national treasury for his own cultivation. How could he not want to eat such a big, fat piece of meat like the Liu He Chamber of Commerce? For the great cause of our Lao Liu organization, Jian Kongxiu, just bear with it a little longer. I will definitely make you a Zhenwang soon. I have faith in you. Yang Kailing was walking on campus in his new clothes. Yuyu suddenly appeared behind him, patted his shoulder and called his name. The startled Yang Kailing almost wet his pants. Yuyu couldn't help but burst into laughter. Why are you so timid? I didn't mean to scare you. I just saw you and wanted to say hello. Then Yuyu noticed his new clothes. As a noble prince, what was he wearing? He unceremoniously picked up the clothes. This feels wrong. He sniffed the clothes. A strange smell wafted into his nose. Yang Kailing thought there was something smelly on his clothes. I'm wearing it for the first time. It hasn't been washed yet. Where did you get your clothes? My father gave them to me last time. If you need clothes, I can give you some. Yuyu told him to stay still, then took out a silver needle and rubbed it on the clothes. The silver needle turned dark green at a speed visible to the naked eye. As Yuyu had guessed, the clothes were poisoned. Yang Kailing's face instantly lost all color. Yuyu told him to calm down. It's just a slow-acting poison. You won't die yet. But Yang Kailing couldn't listen anymore, his body trembling with fear. Why would my father do this to me? He wants to be the laughingstock of the kindergarten, and his first target is the silly princess. Yang Kailing almost fainted from the shock. Yang Kailing, even more frightened by Yu Shi's words, was told that his clothes were poisoned by fear. Bian Jiling's whole body felt like it was falling apart. What mistake did he make to deserve this? Seeing him cry sadly, Yu said, "Why don't you just change your clothes? You have plenty of them." The next second, she thought she was being foolish. She'd almost spent all her allowance. Now she had to rely on these kindergarten kids to make up for it. So she pinched Bian Jiling's face. "The feel is not bad. Keep crying." Yang Kailing took a step back. Is this devil even human? He's crying so hard, and she's still pinching him. When he stopped crying, Yu directly used both hands to pinch Yang Kailing. He didn't dare resist, the pain made him cry, but Yu felt it wasn't enough. "You look so ugly crying. Like a beggar." The beauty-conscious Yang Kailing's heart couldn't take it. He even wanted to die. He had gotten up early to dress for his new clothes. The clothes were poisoned, and now she said he was ugly when he cried. Finally, he burst into tears. What bad karma did he have in his last life to be bullied by this devil in this life? The other children were a little scared. Why does this Yongyang County Lord always bully us? Let's not stay here. Next, she'll bully us. Yang Kailing ran back to his room, crying. He couldn't fight back against Yu, nor could he scold her. The Queen Mother, Zhongqing Shan, brought Li Pin to the academy. He awkwardly apologized to Yu's teacher. Hearing that the school was calling parents, Zhongqing Shan knew it was over. The young master must have caused trouble, and judging by the teacher's expression, it wasn't a small matter. He could only try to plead. Our county lord has always lacked love since childhood. Her temper is a bit fierce. I hope Mr. Fang Yuan Wei will be understanding. Li Pin also spoke up for Yu. Since her family is here, teacher, please calm down. Fang Yuan Wei didn't want to make things difficult for them. As long as the county lord doesn't write those strange things anymore. His other subjects are excellent, but geography. He said things I never taught. It almost made me die of anger. Yu's response was completely accurate. The world is divided by the superiority of Shi Shen Shu. Seeing Yu's unrepentant attitude, Feng Yuan Wei exploded and announced that he wouldn't teach her. He even said he'd post Yu's essay on the school gate for everyone to see. Zhongqing Shan knew Yu was right, but others wouldn't understand and would treat her as an outcast. He tried to get Yu to stop, but Yu nonchalantly took out cookies from her bag and started eating. Zhongqing Shan sighed helplessly. Yu's essay was soon posted. Many students read it. Unsurprisingly, nobody believed it. Some even said that Yu wasn't suited to be a scholar, she should be a librarian instead. The believers were even more convinced. Yu's online popularity soared, and she decided to let her Lao Liu group spread the word. Your brother Lao Liu ate secretly without wearing gloves. Watch out, Yu, or it'll give your family a beating. Yu heard that Yang Xinyuan was not doing well. As the leader of the Lao Liu organization, he had to check on him. Opening the door, she saw Yang Xinyuan reading with a brazier and a small table, looking quite miserable. Yu teased him, Comrade Yang Xinyuan, you've suffered a lot. Look at this miserable state. Yang Xinyuan sighed. Since the East Country's downfall, the emperor felt no need to support him to counterbalance the East Country. He had no power and his salary was being deducted. He could barely afford charcoal. Yu feigned sympathy, so that's how it is. You poor thing. Why don't you borrow some money from me? Yu smelled a familiar scent on Yang Xinyuan alcohol. She noticed some meat stuck on Yang Xinyuan's lips. It didn't seem like someone who couldn't afford charcoal. Lao Liu, stop pretending to be poor. You're a core member of the Imperial Guard and the shopkeeper of Liuhe Merchant Guild. How can you have no money? Yang Xinyuan asked her to keep her voice down. This is an act. If the county lord doesn't believe it, you can donate some money to me. As soon as he finished, Yu kicked over his table. Yang Xinyuan didn't dare fart. What was going on now? I'm going to donate points. Yu whispered, to outsiders, we're rivals. I have to act the part. Yang Xinyuan said, you're a dog. Soon, the news of Yu beating Yang Xinyuan reached Beiyudi. Beiyudi was alarmed. Yang Xinyuan was a former student of Yongan Academy, and Luo Yinyou was from Lingzhou. Could they be conspiring to rebel? He was always troubled by things related to Yi, even after his death. The public announcement stated that Yu and Yang Xinyuan had been at odds since they were in Yongan City. The county lord once beat Yang Xinyuan for a few coins. This time, she went to his house, overturned his only table, and scolded him for being a Lingzhu conspirator, adding that he deserved it because he was poor. Baudi laughed. He was happy to see them fight. He thought it was Yu causing trouble because Yang Xinyuan had entered the palace. He decided to ignore it and let them fight. She felt Yang Xinyuan resembled someone she disliked. A branch grew on his palm every day. Renping couldn't remove it no matter how hard he tried. He could only cry secretly in his room, afraid of being called a monster. Yu didn't know that the Ruomu tree in Yang Kailing's body was growing. For 2 years, he had been cultivating it to protect himself. Yu opened her eyes and let out a sigh. Cultivation is really tiring. Feeling the energy in her body, Yu clenched her fists. After 2 years, she finally reached the great accomplishment of Huang Wujing. A knock interrupted Yu's thoughts. Zhu Hong's voice came from outside. "Young master, are you asleep?" Yu immediately got out of bed, quickly putting on her clothes. It was late, and Zhu Hong wouldn't come at this time unless it was important. Opening the door, she asked what was wrong. Zhu Hong said, "The Saint Princess, Yang Kailing, has a problem." Yu immediately guessed what it was. After 10 years, the Ruomu tree was finally growing. She told Zhu Hong to keep the new secret. No one could know. She needed to go see what was happening. Yu jumped onto Bian Gu's back. "Let's go to Yang Qiling's place." Bian Jiu sped off. In the Saint Princess room, Yang Kailing was scared and hugged himself, crying, thinking he was going to die. The door was roughly pushed open. Yu barged in. The princess servants had been replaced by Yu's people. Yang Kailing was terrified. Why would this devil come here in the middle of the night? Why didn't anyone stop him? Yu didn't answer, locking the door after entering. She walked up to Yang Kailing, staring at his hand behind his back. "What are you hiding? Take it out." Yang Kailing fearfully backed against the bed. "What are you going to do? Don't come near me." Yu impatiently dragged him out and opened his hand. 2 leaves, along with a sapling, were deeply embedded in his injured palm. Yang Kailing cried, wanting to pull out the sapling but couldn't, thinking he was possessed. Yu said, "Possessed? You are the one possessing the tree, all right." She patted his shoulder. "How do you feel? Your hand hurts." "Of course it hurts. You carved so many wounds into your palm." Yang Kailing cried. Yu was annoyed and glared at him. Yang Kailing bit his lip, too afraid to speak. Yu pulled Yang Kailing's hand closer. She curiously poked the leaves. The resilient leaves immediately bounced. Seeing him still playing with the leaves, Yang Kailing wanted to die. "Can't you be serious?" Yu asked quietly. "Do you know why your mother died?" Yang Kailing's expression was downcast. Yang Xinyuan had hinted that his mother might have been killed by his father. He had barely seen his mother since he was a child and didn't remember what she looked like. Yu asked, "As a member of Baekai's royal family, you should have heard of the Ruomu tree, right?" Yang Kailing looked up in confusion. "Are you stupid? You don't even know how your own mother died." Yang Kailing whispered, "I never met my mother." Yu sternly warned him, "Don't let anyone know about the leaves, or you're dead." "But you already know, right?" Yu hit him on the head. "How did you live this long being so stupid? Don't treat me as a human." Yu sensed no spiritual energy, meaning the Ruomu tree didn't need external energy, but absorbed spiritual energy to grow. She wondered how the Ruomu tree grew. Maybe from this idiot's head. The image of Yang Kailing with a tree on his head was bizarre. Knowing Yang Kailing's situation, Yu decided to go out and do some things, telling him to stay put. Yang Kailing looked at the sapling, knowing he couldn't show himself to anyone. "I'll go to Dad's place tomorrow and remember to bring him a puppy." Yu immediately called Zhu Hong and ordered that word spread that the Saint Princess had a chronic poison and wouldn't be going to school. Baudi had been secretly poisoning Yan Kailing, but the poison had been replaced by the Shadow Guard. This provided a perfect excuse for him to disappear for a while. Sure enough, the next day, Baudi sent dozens of elite imperial guards, ostensibly to protect the princess, but actually to keep Yan Kailing under close watch. Yan Kailing, though confined indoors, learned of the outside events from the servants. "So, the emperor wants to softly restrain me." At this moment, the door opened, and Yang Xiaoling entered. Yu, along with Binji, strolled in. Baiudi's guards were no match for them. Yan Kailing, for the first time, felt happy to see Yu. She'd been alone in the room for a day, with no one to talk to, almost bored to death. Yu hadn't brought her any gooey hugo. Yu speechlessly took a roast chicken from his storage ring and threw it to her. "Do you think I'm a delivery service? I only have roast chicken," not gooey who go. Eat it if you want. Yan Kailing quickly grabbed a chicken leg and stuffed it into her mouth. Why my? What's that? This question made Yu's eyes light up. Right, they didn't have delivery services in ancient times. This is a money-making opportunity. Suddenly, Yu noticed something odd. Yan Kailing was holding a chicken leg in one hand, but something seemed missing. Then he remembered the missing number on her palm. Yan Kailing, where's your number? Yan Kailing hastily hid her hand. If you ask, I'll tell you. Good heavens. Your courage has grown in just a few hours. If you don't get a beating, you'll forget your place. Yu rolled up his sleeves, ready to teach her a lesson. Yan Kailing immediately begged for mercy. I'm wrong. I'll tell you, okay. Yu snatched the roast chicken from her. You better confess honestly, or I'll feed it to Binji. Binji glared at him, his mouth watering, eager to devour the chicken. Yan Kailing scolded him for being impolite. Yu pulled Binji back. Her abilities are innate. Your girl has a strange ability since childhood. She can manifest numbers on her palm with a thought. Yan Kailing explained that it was her soul mark, and she could absorb it into her body at will. He had initially suspected the Ruo Mu tree was his soul mark. When he first entered the academy, the testing compass showed no reaction. He thought he lacked talent. However, Yu frowned. He couldn't sense any fluctuations from Yan Kailing's mark. He was certain this was a Ruo Mu mark, not a soul mark. It could be absorbed by Yan Kailing, because Yan Kailing is a zero-elemental body. It's similar to a soul mark. Yan Kailing was thrilled. He couldn't stop talking. At such a young age, she has awakened a soul mark. She's definitely the number one in Baiyu. She's a genius. Binji, with a straight face, said in only 10 words, stop talking nonsense and return it. Binji immediately bit into the roast chicken. Yan Kailing's composure crumbled. Return my chicken. He lunged forward to grab it back. Yu lifted him up. Your number isn't a soul mark. It's something your mother left you, a number that can change the world's isolated barriers. He lifted Yan Kailing up like a child, warning him never to tell anyone about this. Half of the people in your princess mansion are my spies. If you disobey, I can easily deal with you. Understand? Yan Kailing was terrified. He promised to keep it a secret. Then, can you bring me Gui who go tomorrow? Yu didn't answer but continued, the Ruo Mu tree might give you a secondary soul mark. If you don't want to lose it, you must hide it well. Yan Kailing was lifted high, able to see the back of Yu's head. A thought struck Yan Kailing, and he spoke mischievously. Binji subtly blinked. In an instant, a small, dark green sprout sprouted on Yu's head. Binji's eyes widened. It looked delicious. Yu was oblivious, while Yan Kailing stifled laughter. I will definitely cultivate diligently and study hard. He nervously stepped away from Yu. Okay, I'm tired. I want to rest. Remember to bring me Gui who go tomorrow. Yu, without thinking much, agreed. Then Binji left. Several shadow guards appeared, needing to escort Yu back to the princess residence. Seeing the sprout on their young master's head, they were stunned. What's this new hairstyle? Yu went back to his room with the sprout on his head. The next day, still sporting the sprout, he went to the academy. His high profile was attracting attention. Everyone looked at him and laughed. Yan Kailing's messages flooded the screen, expressing both anticipation and hilarious disbelief. Yu was confused. What the hell is this? A student, seeing Yu's back, whispered to his companion, look, there's a plant growing on that man's head. Yu turned around. The rumor of him bullying the princess was already widespread. Seeing the formidable Yu, the two students immediately fled. Yu finally understood. He took a small mirror from his ring. Seeing the sprout in the mirror, his face darkened. Damn Yan Kailing. He was truly embarrassed. Having a sprout on his head was one thing, but being mocked was another. He picked up the mirror and discovered the sprout on his head. You damned Yan Kailing, playing such childish tricks. If I don't beat you, you'll get worse. Yu angrily pulled off the sprout, thinking it was over. Another sprout appeared instantly, strong and stable, as if asserting its powerful life force. His face turned black. He stood still, already devising ways to torture Yan Kailing. He calmly put away the mirror and summoned Zhu Hong, his shadow guard. Yu gritted his teeth. Zhu Hong, tell that fool Yan Kailing that his Gui Hugo is gone. Zhu Hong sighed. He had only been summoned to deliver a message. It was a waste of his talent. Upon hearing this, Yan Kailing immediately burst into tears. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Please forgive me. I'll remove the sprouts immediately. The sprouts disappeared. Yu couldn't help but marvel at the world number's uniqueness. Although Yan Kailing lacked zero elemental power, he could control the sprouts from a distance. Zhu Hong presented intelligence from the south. The ghost realm had made a move, but luckily, Bu Yijian had been stationed near the ghost realm, and was still in control. Seeing the intelligence, Yu recognized the scent of the Ruo Mu tree. It had been detected by the ghosts. While the southern ghost realm was contained, other areas in the north might not be so easily controlled. His current strength was insufficient to confront high-level cultivators. Yu had no interest in attending classes, and decided to ask the dean for a leave of absence to train. He informed Zhu Hong of his plan, asking him to monitor the ghost realm, then intended to visit the dean. On his way back, he saw a strange trend. Many students were wearing sprouts on their heads, like him, a new fashion trend sweeping the academy. This trend boosted Yu's contribution points too. In just a few days, Yu twitched his mouth. They are all following the trend. Are they crazy? He was shocked. When Yu found Dean Chen Liangping, he exploded. Because Yu hadn't disciplined Yan Kailing lately, Yan Kailing, unable to find him, sent a stack of apology letters to the dean's office. Seeing the pile of letters, Yu felt a headache coming on. Before I go into seclusion, I have to find Yan Kailing, or hell kill me. Dean Chen Liangping thought Yu was trying to avoid Yan Kailing's nagging. He didn't make it difficult for Yu and agreed. His presence at the academy didn't matter, as long as he didn't cause trouble outside. Yu was surprised by the dean's easy agreement, and thanked him profusely. Chen Liangping, with a mysterious smile, pushed Yan Kailing's letters towards him. Read these letters. It's the princess' heartfelt feelings. Seeing the dean's strange expression, Yu felt a chill. What's going on? Did you misunderstand something? Finally, Yu arrived at the princess' residence with Gui Hugo and the stack of letters. Yan Kailing was overjoyed to see him, almost wanting to hug him. Yu shoved him away in disgust. Don't be so disgusting. He threw the Gui Hugo to him. Yan Kailing caught it skillfully. After taking a bite of the Gui Hugo, he heard that this was the last one, as Yu was going into seclusion for a while. Yan Kailing widened his eyes in surprise. You don't have cultivation. What kind of seclusion is this? You promised me 3 days of Gui Hugo. Seeing his audacity, Yu rolled up his sleeves. I haven't disciplined you lately, have you gotten too cocky? Yan Kailing immediately cowered. If you're busy, can you still have someone deliver me Gui Hugo? With business coming to him, why would he refuse? He immediately switched to his delivery service mode. Delivery fee. 10 taels per trip. Large orders get discounts. Yan Kailing was puzzled. What language is he speaking? Is that what I think it means? Who would have thought that a rat could fly? Yu pushed open the door, sighing deeply. After much cultivation, he still hadn't broken through the TH stage. Remembering that LXNG Yuan had broken through the TH stage due to the intense stimulation of Yi's death, Yu considered seeking a similar stimulus. Since he possessed a lightning elemental soul mark, lightning should be helpful. He asked Zhu Hong when the next thunderstorm would be. Zhu Hong emerged from the shadows. It'll be in 4 days, but predicting weather isn't always accurate, though Yu had never heard of such a department. Zhu Hong explained that the 4 days department managed astronomical calendars and post-war calculations, but cultivation was often unpredictable, even more so now with mass cultivation. The 4 days department was overworked. Yu decided to find someone else, but Zhu Hong suggested an individual named Jin Zheng who might be able to help. Yu was surprised. He's in prison, how can he predict the weather? Nevertheless, he wanted to try, so he went to the old prison with Bin Ji. It held death row inmates. Some bodies remained unclaimed, creating a terrible stench. Yu had to pinch his nose. Bien Jiu was even worse. He was always arrogant and threw up right after entering the prison. Jian Zhuang twitched his mouth. Helpless, he could only tell Bien Jiu to wait outside while he went in himself. Taking Yu's torch, he walked forward. He walked all the way to the oldest building in the deepest part of the prison, and finally saw Jian Zheng in the last cell. Jian Zheng was covered in grease and dirt, lying on the only bedding in the old building, staring blankly at the sky outside the window. Yu didn't expect the person Yu Guo cared about would be watching the sky in this kind of place. She thought his spiritual world must be very rich. Or else he would have gone insane after being imprisoned for years. After bowing to him, Yu asked, Master Jianzheng, may I have a word with you? Jianzheng didn't even blink, nor did he turn his head. He replied dully, leave me alone. But Yu wasn't so easily dismissed. She followed his gaze to the window. There are clouds outside. Can you see the stars? Jianzheng was finally annoyed by her. He grabbed something from his feet and threw it hard at Yu. I said leave me alone. Are your ears deaf? A smelly, rotten dead rat flew towards her face. Yu quickly dodged. Holy crap. A dead rat. Suppressing the urge to beat the old man up, Yu took a deep breath. There's a big cloud outside. You can't see the stars. It's a fact. He's not wrong. Jianzheng was truly a strange person. No matter who you are, it's wrong to disturb my stargazing. If you don't leave, he'll throw dead rats at you again. After saying that, he started searching the floor for the dead rat. He crawled around until he reached Yu's feet. Jianzheng looked up at Yu. He hadn't really looked at her before, but now he noticed her clothes. The clothes on Yu gave him a familiar feeling. This is Qin Yuan. He suddenly grabbed Yu. Jianzheng became very agitated. What's your relationship with Yi? Yu was stunned. Did this old man know Yi? Then Yu saw the potential for a great deal of exciting gossip. Her eyes lit up as she stared at the dirty old man in the cell. This was going to be interesting. Jianzheng was still agitated, continuing to question her. I'm asking you. Why are you wearing Qin Yuan? What's your relationship with Yi? Yu calmly took out the mask Yi had given her from her sleeve. Then, putting it on, she said, I'm Yi, the child version. Qixing's affection involuntarily increased by points. With a disbelieving look, he retreated a few steps. How is this possible? Did he shrink? Besides, Yi is dead. Thinking of this, Qixing suddenly broke out, you're lying to me. People can't change gender. Seeing Yu wasn't embarrassed by being exposed. She figured since he had thrown a dead rat at her, teasing him a bit wasn't too much. Qixing looked Yu up and down. Are you his disciple? Did he send you to find me? Where is he? Take me to him. Yu's expression darkened. He's dead. Qixing staggered, almost unable to stand. The next second, a notification popped up on Yu's system panel. Qixing's shock has given you affection points. Holy crap. This old man broke the record. Yu was no longer calm, staring at Qixing like a pervert eyeing a beautiful woman. This is my chance to get rich. I must take him with me. Qixing quickly recovered from his shock. He can't be dead. You can see the stars. Can't you tell if he's dead or not? Unexpectedly, Qixing shook his head. He had tried to divine Yi's fate, but couldn't. Then he seemed to realize something and turned to look at Yu, his eyes widening in shock. He couldn't divine her fate either. Now it was Yu's turn to be surprised. You can tell fortunes. That's so cool. Qixing chuckled. This is nothing. I can even tell the Emperor's fate. Yu was thrilled. Then tell me, when will that dog Emperor die? The prisoners in the neighboring cells were stunned, some even frightened. Yu glanced at the other cells. You're all condemned prisoners. What are you afraid of? What's the difference between dying now and dying in a few days? You know what I mean, right? Another wave of notifications flooded her screen. Yu ignored them and turned back to Qixing. When will there be lightning in the next few days? Take me to see Yi's grave, and I'll tell you. Yu sighed. He really is dead. I'm not lying, but Qixing not only didn't believe her, he laughed. He can't be dead. I can't divine his fate, which means even heaven can't control him. He's too lucky to die. Looking at the crazy old man, Yu suddenly thought that this old guy might actually be onto something. A few minutes later, Yu quietly released Qixing and two other condemned prisoners, seemingly intending to take them with her. Yu nearly went crazy, begging Yu to spare him. If the Emperor found out they had released death row inmates, their heads wouldn't be enough to pay for it. Yu simply looked at them. Dead men tell no tales. Just say they are dead. Yu hesitantly agreed. 3 months later, they were still in prison. Master, you really can't take them away. If the Emperor finds out, we'll be executed. Yu tossed them a gold ingot. They are dead. Just say they died at any time, and have turned into bones. Yu stared at the gold, drooling, but still hesitant. Where can we find bones? Yu pointed to the depths of the foul-smelling prison. Walk 3 meters into that cell, there are 2 skeletons on the left. Walk 5 more meters, and there are 3. There are more further in. The 3 guards were speechless, ultimately unable to resist the lure of gold. They pocketed the ingot. So Yinyou, leading Bianjiu, swaggered out of the prison with the 3 condemned prisoners. Back at the manor, Zhu Hong and several secret guards heard the commotion and came out, but the stench of the 3 prisoners nearly made them vomit. Yinyou calmly told Zhu Hong to arrange for them to bathe. Zhu Hong, pinching his nose tightly, muttered, "They are covered in sores and wounds. It'll take a while to clean them up." At that moment, the sky suddenly darkened as dark clouds gathered, quickly, covering the entire sky. Lightning flashed. The rain poured down. Yinyou's heart leaped. She thought she would have to wait for the prisoner from Nansan to predict the weather, but the opportunity came so quickly. Yinyou jumped onto the roof of her house, trying to attract lightning from a high place, but realized it wasn't high enough. The higher the place, the more likely it was to be struck by lightning. She needed to find the highest place in the area. After a moment of thought, Yinyou suddenly remembered a place. The ruins of the Saiqian Jian. She quickly ran in that direction. That was the perfect spot. The building must have been the tallest. This time, Yinyou seized the opportunity. The clever Zhu Hong immediately guessed Yinyou's intention, and ordered the secret guards to block off the streets near Saiqian Jian, forbidding anyone from approaching. Yinyou immediately used the Huang Wujing Da Cheng technique. Coupled with the movement technique taught by Yi Si, she rushed towards Saiqian Jian at her fastest speed. Soon, Yinyou arrived at her destination. It was indeed long abandoned, perfect for her breakthrough. Yinyou climbed the ruins quickly. Reaching the highest point of the Saiqian Jian ruins, the entire area was within her sight. Above her, the sky was pitch black. Occasional lightning illuminated the world. Yinyou felt the thunder element in the air, incredibly abundant. She could clearly feel the spiritual power surging within her. It had been a long time since there had been such strong lightning. The people were panicking. If lightning struck, it could destroy the ruins of Huangcheng and Hongcheng. Bianjiu trembled with fear, hiding in Zhong Qingshan's arms. Zhong Qingshan looked worriedly in Yinyou's direction, fearing for her safety. Yinyou had already taken out her soul chain, wrapping it with crackling thunder power. She swung the chain upwards, intending to attract the lightning. With a loud crack, a thick bolt of lightning struck the chain. A powerful current surged through the chain and into Yinyou's body. Her cultivation technique activated, frantically absorbing the thunder power. The first level of the thunder technique was unlocked. Ready to be struck by lightning. But not only was she not killed, she gained the power of the thunder technique. Yinyou felt the raging thunder element within her. She began circulating her cultivation technique, feeling herself about to break through to the 5th level. Meanwhile, down below, Banbu Lao Liu's subordinate, Zheng Lu, excitedly followed the crowd, intending to enter the city. He had come from Yangzhou to Jixiang, hoping to infiltrate Lao Liu's headquarters. Suddenly, there was a scream from the crowd. A woman with smallpox rushed through the crowd, bumping into a mother and daughter, but she didn't stop to apologize. Zheng Lu quickly stepped forward to help the mother and daughter, seeing that the little girl had been knocked to the ground. Zheng Lu's good mood was instantly ruined. This was the imperial city, yet such a heartless thing could happen. Without a second thought, she chased after him. "Old man, stop. You bumped into someone, shouldn't you apologize?" But the old man pretended not to hear and hurried away. Zheng Wen, seeing he still wouldn't stop, reached out and tried to grab him. Annoyed, the old man pulled something out from his waist. He swiftly swung it at him. Zheng Wen reacted quickly, dodging the blow. Otherwise, he would have been cut in half on the spot. But he was still grabbed by the old man and warned not to interfere. It was clear the old man didn't want to make a big scene. But Zheng Wen's eyes suddenly widened. He recognized the old man's face. Wasn't this Dongguo Wu from the wanted list? Why was he here? Zheng Wen knew he couldn't beat a heaven stage Dongguo Wu. He could only pretend to comply for now, then quickly inform his organization that Dongguo Wu was in the city. At this time, Yinyou was inside the ancestral hall, cultivating her technique. All the heavenly lightning gathered there, striking Yinyou one after another. Dongguo Wu, holding a strange black sphere, quickly walked towards the ancestral hall. He had been stuck at the peak of heaven stage for decades without any progress. Now that the Dongguo family was in decline, he could only resort to using a magical artifact to convert the lightning's energy to break through. Although the conversion efficiency was low, it was the first time he had absorbed such a vast amount of lightning energy. The converted energy would definitely be considerable. Thinking of this, Dongguo Wu was about to cast his technique, but he was stopped by Zhu Hong, who sensed a hostile aura from him. Zhu Hong knew this man was not easy to deal with. Dongguo Wu didn't expect anyone else to be here. But after seeing that Zhu Hong was only at the Xuanwu realm, he laughed loudly and tossed aside his hat. Who would have thought? There are only a few Xuanwu realm cultivators. Are you Lao Ji? Recognizing Dongguo Wu, Zhu Hong wanted to curse. How could this old thing be here? No matter what, he couldn't let him disturb Xiao Jiangli. Seeing that Zhu Hong wouldn't move, Dongguo Wu sneered, "You dare to fight me?" Zhu Hong didn't speak, quickly shooting several hidden weapons at him. Dongguo Wu easily dodged them. "You're courting death." He placed the black sphere aside to absorb the lightning. Seizing the opportunity, Zhu Hong shot a few more hidden weapons. Dongguo Wu simply flipped his broadsword, deflecting all of them. He then stomped on the ground and lunged forward. The broadsword slashed fiercely towards Zhu Hong. He wanted a quick victory, to kill this Xuanwu realm cultivator. Yinyou was about to break through to the 5th level, but at this crucial moment of absorbing the lightning energy, she was disturbed by this old thief Dongguo Wu. Fortunately, Zhu Hong blocked Dongguo Wu's attack in time. For a quick victory, Dongguo Wu slashed at Zhu Hong. Zhu Hong quickly dodged and counterattacked with hidden weapons. With the movement technique Yi Si taught him, Dongguo Wu found it difficult to hit him. Xiao Jiangli's breakthrough was at a critical stage. He couldn't let this old man disturb her, so every time Dongguo Wu attacked, Zhu Hong would dodge precisely, making it impossible for Dongguo Wu to catch him. Dongguo Wu quickly realized something was wrong with Zhu Hong's movement, and that prolonging the fight was not an option. He no longer hesitated and leaped from the ground. Powerful energy surged within him, channeling his strongest attack into the blade. He slashed towards Zhu Hong, the sonic boom distorting the space. The pressure from the attack felt like a mountain. Zhu Hong felt a terrifying tearing sensation. He instinctively wanted to flee, but his body was frozen. Was this the insurmountable gap between realms? His strength couldn't withstand this attack. A deep sense of helplessness filled his heart. He thought of Yang Futong. But that silly ox didn't know his feelings yet. They probably wouldn't meet again in this lifetime. He hoped she wouldn't forget him. The next moment, the blade's tip struck heavily. Zhu Hong felt his internal organs shatter, coughing up blood. He fell to the ground, blood mixed with rainwater flowing from his back. Intense pain spread throughout his body. Zhu Hong felt his life slipping away. Looking at the defenseless Zhu Hong, Dongguo Wu sneered, raising his soul-devouring blade for a finishing blow. At this critical moment, a chain suddenly descended from the sky, wrapping around the blade and pulling it aside. The blade missed Zhu Hong, crashing into a stone pillar. Zhu Hong looked up. Was it Xiao Jiangli who had broken through? Yu stood there, holding the chain, wreathed in lightning, wearing an ugly mask. Dongguo Wu was shocked. Unexpectedly, he wasn't dead. He was then sent flying by Yu's attack, coughing up blood. His mental state crumbled, spitting out 3 consecutive damage points. Yu didn't expect this old dog to mistake her for Yi Si and end up looking like this. She almost couldn't bear to attack him. The heavily injured Zhu Hong also thought Dongguo Wu had lost his mind. But this was a chance for Xiao Jiangli to escape. But before he could figure out how to escape, Dongguo Wu unexpectedly ran. He was so fast he practically vanished on the spot. Just as Zhu Hong breathed a sigh of relief, Yinyou, dressed in white, chased after Dongguo Wu with her short legs. Zhu Hong almost went crazy. Xiao Jiangli, come back. That's a heaven stage cultivator. You'll die. His back injury was too severe. He couldn't move, let alone stop Yinyou. Yinyou couldn't catch up to Dongguo Wu. She jumped onto the rooftop, pointed to the sky, and cast the first level of the ninefold lightning technique. Lightning strike. Destructive lightning gathered around her, illuminating the sky with terrifying energy. Despite her delicate appearance, she wore an ugly mask. This way, she could use heavenly lightning without worry. Even if seen, no one would recognize her. Dongguo Wu was stunned. Who was she? How could she summon such powerful lightning? As Yu continued her technique, the first lightning bolt began to gather. Then, it crackled along the chain in Yu's hand, radiating terrifying pressure. Dongguo Wu finally broke down, shouting, "Who are you? We have no grudge. Why are you doing this to me?" Yu didn't answer. Before he could react, she lashed the lightning-charged chain at him. A blindingly bright lightning bolt shot out. Even though it was just the first level of the ninefold lightning technique, it was not something a heaven stage Dongguo Wu could withstand. In an instant, Dongguo Wu was engulfed. No matter how strong his physical body was, it couldn't withstand tens of thousands of volts of lightning. Knowing that Dongguo Wu was no longer a threat, Yu leaped down from the rooftop. Dongguo Wu was charred, emitting the smell of burnt flesh. He wasn't dead yet, but only had a breath left. He struggled weakly. "You're not UCI. Who are you?" This time, Yinyou removed her mask. "Now do you know who I am?" Dongguo was eyes widened in disbelief, his body trembling violently. He never thought he would be defeated by this child he had always looked down upon. He finally understood. The Dongguo family wasn't destroyed by UCI, but by this little brat. He, a dignified heaven stage expert, the leader of a 1,000-year-old family, was defeated by a child. Devastated, Dongguo was eyes rolled back, his life force rapidly fading. He died with resentment, his eyes wide open. Yinyou sighed in relief, but felt a strong backlash from using the lightning. Although powerful, it was still a bit too much for her current strength. Fortunately, her dual souls were awakened, and the Dongguo family was truly eliminated. With that thought, Yinyou succumbed to exhaustion and fainted. The heavily injured Zhu Hong was anxious. Such a commotion would definitely attract attention. It wouldn't be good if anyone discovered Xiao Jiangli's involvement, but he was too injured to move. Someone needed to take Xiao Jiangli away quickly. Just then, rapid footsteps approached. Bian Jiyu arrived as fast as he could. Zhu Hong didn't expect the usually unreliable Bian Jiyu to be so dependable at a critical moment. When Bian Jiyu saw Yinyou, he was almost scared to death. After a closer look, he confirmed it was Yinyou and quickly carried her unconscious body on his back. He then rushed to Dongguo's corpse and kicked it fiercely. "Damn old man, daring to bully our little kid." Suddenly, with a clang, the strange black sphere rolled out from Dongguo's body. Bian Jiyu didn't know what it was but sensed pure energy within it. He picked it up and left the scene with the unconscious Yinyou. Yinyou felt her wallet being drained by the system, this robber. She just wanted to buy 2 books, and it cost her million experience points. But the ninefold lightning technique, bought 4 experience points, was indeed powerful. One move killed that heaven stage old thief Dongguo Wu. However, Yinyou also fainted due to using such an overwhelming skill. The explosion quickly attracted the attention of the entire city. People from all sides came to investigate. Ling Zhou huddled in bed, trembling 4 times from the thunder outside. Perhaps due to the Ruomu tree, his habits started leaning towards Muyuensu. He was exceptionally afraid of lightning and fire. Knowing that Lei Sheng had disappeared, she cautiously opened the door, wanting someone to find out what happened. Unexpectedly, no one answered him. Ling Zhou froze for a moment. Looking around, he found he was alone. Where did the other members of the Demota secret forces go? Unbeknownst to him, the secret forces were busy cleaning up. They swiftly cleared the scene, leaving only traces of fire and Bin Liang taking the injured Zhu Loda and the unconscious Shou Jiangen away. Bing watched the motionless Yo-Yo with worry. If the old master knew he hadn't protected the young master well, he wouldn't be left a single hair. Meanwhile, Zheng Wen, having finally entered the city, went straight to the secret forces headquarters to tell them about the animals sneaking into the city. However, he learned from SNG Figung that DNG Bowu was already dead. Jing'an was shocked. A Qian Wujing expert died so easily. What about the Shou Jiangen? I haven't reported to her since I came from Yanzhou. SNG Figung told him to wait a few days. The Shou Jiangen was breaking through in her cultivation and didn't have time. Jing'an was even more furious. Didn't they say she didn't have the talent for cultivation? What cultivation is she doing? SNG Figung explained calmly, she didn't show cultivation aptitude, but the Shou Jiangen does. Yo-Yo slept for 2 days in the big tent, even fighting DNG-GNGW in his dreams. Waking up refreshed, he had just broken through to the 5th Jing level, killing a few Qian Wujing experts. He didn't lie, however, Yo-Yo had a problem. The tiny Luish required the power of thunder to break through. This added difficulty to his cultivation. Would he have to ask the elders of Satinjian to predict the weather before he could break through? But after breaking through to the 5th Jing, his absorption of spiritual energy was faster, unlocking the ninefold thunder technique, making him much stronger than the average 5th Jing cultivator. Even someone a level higher wouldn't be his match. He only unlocked the first level of the ninefold thunder technique. There were 8 more levels. He couldn't imagine the power, but the ninefold thunder technique was unique. If people knew it was his, they'd recognize him. So Yo-Yo decided not to use it unless he had no choice. He didn't want to be recognized. He planned to ask the system for other cultivation techniques. Unexpectedly, a heavenly thunderstrike and the explosion of Satinjian shocked the entire city, indirectly giving Yo-Yo a lot of points. He suddenly gained points, almost crashing the system. Yo-Yo immediately decided to exchange for AG skill and a high-speed movement technique, both upgraded. The system refused. Divine-level skills cost at least 1 million points. It emphasized that it was just the starting price. Some cost over 10 million. Yo-Yo exploded. Dog system, genuine Luo only cost. Why the sudden price hike? The system explained that was repair, not purchase. Yo-Yo was unconvinced. Repair is cheap, buying is expensive. I want 2 of each. The system explained that cultivation techniques were divided into 3 levels. 0 grade, superior grade, and divine grade. Weapons were cultivated by nobles, and the imperial family and ancient families cultivated Lingji, but most were low-grade Lingji. Divine-level techniques were only available to the core descendants of the Shen Wei family. Yo-Yo interrupted. Fine, points for 3 Qianling grade techniques. The system immediately agreed without negotiation. Yo-Yo grumbled about the system's lack of humanity, but compromised, asking for a skill that best matched his current attributes. He chose a Qianling grade G skill worth points. For a skill. Are you robbing me? Since learning cultivation, Yo-Yo hadn't found a suitable technique. He asked the system for a top-tier technique that matched his thunder element. The system found one suitable for his thunder element, but it cost points. Yo-Yo was furious. You picked the most expensive one. Do you think my points grow on trees, you dog system? The system explained that Qianling grade techniques cost at least points, and this was the best match. Yo-Yo compromised. Tell me why it costs. I need to know it's worth it. The system explained it was from the ancient Milligram FNG sect. Yo-Yo remembered Milligram FNG. It was in one of the 10 worlds, a prosperous place. He remembered there were 10 worlds. 4 were in Nanyu. Milligram FNG was a famous sect in those worlds. If the system recommended it, it must be excellent. Yo-Yo decided to buy it. Strength was paramount. Points were deducted. The skill's information was automatically imprinted in his mind. He knew how to use it immediately. The cheat is strong. He asked the system, since I spent points, can I beat Biyuda now? The system replied, success rate. Yu's mouth twitched. Big bosses are always tough. He began to cultivate, focusing on restoring his spiritual energy. After resting, hunger struck. Yo-Yo went to find food and saw Bing playing with a strange black sphere. Yo-Yo kicked the sphere out of Bing's mouth. Bing scolded him in a language he didn't understand. Yo-Yo picked up the sphere carefully. He sensed pure energy within, countless times over. No wonder Bing liked it. Bing snatched back the sphere, preventing Yo-Yo from touching it. Yo-Yo waved his hand dismissively. I don't believe you. He pushed Bing away. He saw ZHNGQNGSHN pacing anxiously at the door. Seeing Yo-Yo, ZHNGQNGSHN hugged him, checking for injuries. ZHNGQNGSHN was still worried. Zhu Hong was bedridden, and they brought back a person struck by lightning. They planned to burn the body. Inlong brought a ring containing DNG Guo's belongings. Yo-Yo looked, finding some techniques and items of little use. He gave them to Inlong to distribute. Inlong asked whether to reveal DNG Guo's death. Yo-Yo told him to keep it secret. Revealing DNG Guo's death would disrupt the balance. Biyuda would cause trouble. The Zun Ch mansion's door was forcefully opened. A heavily cloaked figure rushed in. Yo-Yo decided to go south to kill demons. Just after giving instructions, someone burst in, heavily cloaked and running towards Yo-Yo. The secret forces members tried to stop him but couldn't. Inlong threw a flying knife, but the person easily deflected it. The knife was embedded in the door. What are you doing? Who are you? The person was Yang Futong. Yo-Yo thought, wrapped up like that, how could I know who you are? Yang Futong entered the study. Why did you come personally? Worried about Zhu Hong. He'll be fine. Yang Futong wanted Yo-Yo to go to the southern region. Several small countries in the southern region of Bu Jianbu were overrun by demons. If they weren't dealt with, no one would survive. Understanding the severity, Yo-Yo sent Yang Futong to lead the troops, while you guarded the Zhu area. After Yang Futong left, Yo-Yo needed a leave of absence. Zhu Hong leaned against the door, looking forward, awaiting that silly big ox. A secret forces member told him that General Fu had left. Zhu Hong was angry. Yo-Yo told the secret forces about his mission and asked Zhu Hong to protect Yanchling. Zhu Hong couldn't rest. His silly ox went to battle. Yo-Yo explained the importance of Yanchling, which connected Bu to other regions. Yo-Yo would also deploy secret forces to protect Yanchling. Zhu Hong agreed to protect Yanchling. Yo-Yo told ZHNGQNGSHN not to follow him to the battlefield. Yo-Yo left. Ting were leaving. Zhu Jian lay motionless on the ground beside Bianjiu, who thought he was asleep. He walked over and kicked Biangu's foot. Biangu, wake up, don't sleep, but Biangu still didn't get up. Only then did Zhu Jian realize something was wrong. Normally, Biangu would be the most excited one to go out. He crouched down and touched Biangu's face, only to discover he had a fever. Could it be that he ate that black energy ball and couldn't digest it? Chen Liangping sat on the throne in Zhixiao Academy. The 5 academy deans paced back and forth anxiously beside him. The evil spirits have been rampant in Nanzhong for 4 years, but the emperor hasn't sent troops to clear them. The academy students who wanted to go were stopped. Does the emperor really not care? Chen Liangping waved his hand, about to speak. Just then, a student delivered a message via Junzu charm. After reading the message, Chen Liangping was stunned. Junzu, she's going to Nanzhong to slay demons. Cheng Yudun panicked upon hearing this. She's not a cultivator. Going there is suicide. He was about to stop Yu, but Chen Liangping stopped him. Let her go. Junzu has her own ideas. Let's see what she does. Yu was speechless. This old man actually said he was the leader. Originally, Yu planned to go south to kill the blood fiend, but Biangu fell ill at a crucial moment. With his fever, he couldn't go with Yu. Yu had to entrust Bulao VI to take care of Biangu and prepare a fast horse for him. As soon as she left the Junzu residence, someone stopped her. The clean and tidy Qi Xinghua was already waiting at the gate. Yu looked at him awkwardly. After all, the last time they fought with the Dongguo 5, she blew up their 4 heavens pavilion, but Qi Xinghua wasn't looking for her because of that. Junzu, are you going to Nanzhong? Yu was surprised. How did you know? Qi Xinghua pointed to the sky. You forget, I'm a fortune teller. I saw a disaster in Nanzhong. During his stay at the Junzu residence, he had gathered information on Yu's great deeds, believing she was destined for greatness, just like Yi. He leaned closer to Yu and asked mysteriously, Junzu, General Yi isn't dead, right? Yu looked at Qi Xinghua in surprise. This old man was quite perceptive. Everyone thought Yi was dead, but he didn't believe it. Qi Xinghua continued, I can't see your or General Yes fate clearly, but I can deduce national fortunes. The first person with great destiny in Beiyu is still alive, and you are the second. My heart tells me there are 2 people who can change the world. Yu became interested. So tell me, what will I encounter in Nanzhong? However, Qi Xinghua didn't know. He couldn't see Yu's fate clearly, so he couldn't predict what she would encounter. But he knew that a great hero would emerge from this Nanzhong incident. I guess this person must be you. He took a step back. He bowed respectfully to Yu. On behalf of everyone, I thank the hero, Junzu. Yu felt a strong sense of responsibility. Even if he hadn't said so, Yu knew she couldn't ignore the situation. Her only worry was Zhong Qingshan's safety. Qi Xinghua told her that Zhong Qingshan would have great fortune, but this tribulation was also a turning point in his destiny. Seeing Yu's worry, Qi Xinghua waved his hand, telling her to go to Nanzhong without worry. He would help resolve Zhong Qingshan's matter. Reassured, Yu mounted her horse and left, but she ran into Cheng Kei at the city gate. Junzu, are you going to Nanzhong? What, General Chen is going too? Cheng Kei punched his carriage hard. I wish Junzu a triumphant return. He had secretly come to see Yu off, not to send her to her death. Yu ignored him and rode out of the city, thinking, you're afraid, aren't you? Sooner or later, I have to go. I'd rather return victoriously. Cheng Kei felt a chill in his heart. It's better to stay away from this devil. Getting involved with her is asking for trouble. Several days later, Yu arrived at an inn, wearing clothes Yi had made for her. Thinking of Yi, she felt a little sad. She hadn't seen his reactions in the system for a long time, and didn't know what his situation was. Just then, a waiter came up. Miss, I see you have an extraordinary temperament, perfect for a certain profession. Would you consider it? Yu looked at him curiously. Tell me more. The waiter leaned in mysteriously. Miss, do you know what a Lao Liu is? Yu was speechless. The term Lao Liu had spread this far. This was the first time Yu witnessed the power of makeup. The 2 sisters, 10 years apart, weren't just similar, they were practically identical. Yu was originally just resting at the inn. The waiter started chatting her up. He wanted Yu to join the Lao Liu organization. Yu twitched her lips. Seriously? They're even trying to recruit the Lao Liu's daughter. As they were talking, a commotion erupted outside. A huge carriage stopped at the inn's entrance. Several young people in uniform got out. The guards were fierce and domineering, driving away the people eating and drinking. Get out. This inn is reserved for Dongming Academy. The familiar academy name caught Yuyu's attention. Wasn't Dongming Academy the second-ranked academy on the continent, from Hanliao Kingdom? They probably knew that the Jixiao Academy students wouldn't dare kill demons, so they came from afar to gain fame. After all, there were only a few famous academies on the continent. Moving up in rank would make a huge difference. Understanding the situation, Yuyu ignored the rude man, who had driven out most of the guests, and calmly sipped her tea. The waiter became anxious, wondering how to protect Yuyu. Such a suitable Luo Yinyou candidate couldn't be bullied. Just then, another group of people in uniform arrived. They didn't take a carriage, but arrived on horseback. Yuyu recognized the uniforms immediately. They were students from Yongan. She didn't expect to meet them here. Yuyu got up to greet them. These were students from her territory, her own students. Super awesome. The two groups faced each other. The Dongming Academy students glared at the newcomers. The rude man, who led the Dongming students, came out of the inn, scowling at them. The Yongan students were peaceful, dismounting their horses and bowing to the Dongming students. The leading student, Liang Jingqi, spoke. Students of Lingzhu Yongan Academy greet the seniors of Dongming. Yu watched with satisfaction. The polite and respectful Yongan students pleased her. She wondered if they still remembered her. A disdainful female voice came from the Dongming Academy carriage. Yongan Academy. What kind of backwater place is that? The Dongming students laughed, showing no attempt to hide their disdain. The Yongan students remained unfazed, smiling as they introduced themselves. We are students of Yongan Academy in Lingzhu Yongan City, formerly the territory of General Yi, now the territory of Junzhu Yongye. As soon as these words were spoken, the laughter of the Dongming students abruptly stopped. Their faces became ashen. Who didn't know they were enemies with Yi? The surrounding crowd erupted in discussion. The Yongan students made great contributions in Beiyu. Their strength is definitely not weak. Let's see which of these two groups can claim this inn. Yu looked at the luxurious carriage with the Hanliao Kingdom emblem. If she guessed correctly, the person inside was a member of the Hanliao royal family. The next moment, the carriage curtain was pulled open, and a girl with a haughty expression stepped out. The Dongming students immediately bowed their heads respectfully and called out, Qigongzu. Looking at the face, Yu was stunned. This was a younger version of Suo Shengqing. The Hanliao emperor's genes were too strong. Qigongzu, Suo Ruya, walked arrogantly towards Liang Jingqi. She took out a whip from her waist and lashed it fiercely at Liang Jingqi. The whip landed heavily on Liang Jingqi's face. Looking at the torn sleeve, the smile finally disappeared from Liang Jingqi's face. Princess of Hanliao, do you want a duel? Fight! Fight! The two academies are fighting. Yu watched excitedly from the side. Young people are so passionate, ready to fight at a moment's notice. The Yongan students immediately took out their soul weapons. The surrounding crowd was surprised. They didn't expect the seemingly gentle Yongan students to be so fierce. Hearing the discussions, Yu rolled her eyes. What nonsense are they talking about? These are students from my territory. Suo Ruya, the seventh princess of Hanliao, sneered. The Yi army is nothing but a subordinate army of Hanliao. Yongan Academy, students of the Yi army's territory. Never heard of it. Yu was speechless. Did the Hanliao soldiers never kill the Yi army? Didn't they have any idea in their hearts? It was just a large number of Yi army feigning death. And this princess actually believed it. Liang Jingqi, who knew the truth, rolled his eyes. I've seen shameless people, but never someone this shameless. Today is truly an eye-opener. Since you want to fight, let's not waste time. Princess, do you want to fight together or one alone? The hot-tempered Suo Ruya couldn't stand someone being so arrogant in front of her. She lashed her whip. Everyone, attack. Beat them until their mothers don't recognize them. Both sides immediately charged at each other, weapons flying everywhere. Yu stood calmly, taking this opportunity to observe her students' combat abilities. The fight was intense. Although Dongming Academy had half again as many students, the Yongan students, with their rich combat experience, were not at a disadvantage. They could handle opponents each. Someone patted Yu's shoulder. The waiter looked at Yu persuasively. Miss, have you considered joining the Luo Yinyou organization? We Luo Yinyou are very powerful. We can even control the outcome of this chaos. Yu looked at him. How thoughtful. even trying to brainwash the Luo Yinyou's daughter. The two academies were fighting fiercely. Even though they were outnumbered, the experienced Yongan students were holding their own. However, as Liang Jingqi was fighting, a whip suddenly lashed out and struck his arm. Caught off guard, he was cut. Suo Ruya sneered. So he's just a second-rate yellow martial realm midstage cultivator. I thought he was someone impressive. Yu's face darkened. She was about to join the fight herself, when a chubby middle-aged man ran out of the inn. He shouted as he ran, "Stop fighting! Stop fighting! We're all here to deal with the evil spirits in Nanzhong. How can we fight amongst ourselves?" Everyone stopped and looked at him. The next second, they were all grappling with each other, fighting even more enthusiastically. The waiter whispered, "The innkeeper is out. The fight is over." Yu hadn't expected this small inn to have a hidden fifth realm expert. The innkeeper glared at them, fuming. He jumped into the fray, swinging his fists. "I told you to stop. Didn't you hear me?" The innkeeper's identity as the Luo Yinyou leader was exposed. Just now, the two academies were fighting over the inn. The innkeeper came out to stop them, which was reasonable. Angered, the innkeeper jumped into the fray and started beating people up. After a while, dozens of people were lying on the ground, and the fight finally stopped. Suo Ruya, seeing her people being beaten, lashed her whip at the innkeeper. "Where did this fatso come from? He dares to hit my people." The innkeeper grabbed the whip. "You brat. Didn't your mother teach you to respect your elders?" Failing to hit her target and having her weapon seized, Suo Ruya, realizing the other party was also formidable, resorted to using her status. "Who are you? You dare touch my things, you fatso." The innkeeper's eyes narrowed, and he yanked the whip away. "Get lost." He pulled Suo Ruya so hard she almost fell. Then the innkeeper cracked the whip. He lashed it fiercely at Suo Ruya's feet, forcing her to take a few steps back. However, the raised dust still hit her face, infuriating her. "You dead fatso, stop." "I'm the seventh princess of Hanliao." Twirling the whip in his hand, the innkeeper sneered. "I don't care if you're the princess of a foreign country. In my inn, you have to listen to me." He threw the whip back at Suo Ruya's feet. "What a thing. A fifth realm cultivator can't handle a brat. That would be a laughingstock." Hearing the innkeeper scolding, Suo Ruya felt humiliated. But she couldn't beat him. "I'm not staying in this inn. Let's go." Yu couldn't help but chuckle. "Serves you right for being arrogant. You met your match." She turned and entered the inn, intending to talk to Liang Jingqi. Two Yongan students stood up warily and stopped Yu. Their leader was injured and couldn't be disturbed. Liang Jingqi looked at Yu, frowning slightly. He felt she looked familiar, but couldn't remember where he'd seen her before. Yu didn't say anything, but looked at Liang Jingqi's wound. The wound was healing at a visible speed under the effect of medicine. Liang Jingqi still didn't recognize Yu. He wrapped the wound. "I apologize, Miss Yongan students do not receive outsiders." Without revealing her identity, Yu didn't want to disturb their rest and turned to leave. The Yongan students breathed a sigh of relief. They felt that although the girl hadn't spoken, her aura had put pressure on them. Liang Jingqi was lost in thought. He had been impulsive this time. Fortunately, the wound wasn't serious, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to explain it to the dean. After leaving, Yu went to retrieve her fast horse, intending to leave, but the waiter stopped her again. Unrelenting, he continued to persuade Yu, "Miss, are you really not going to join our Luo Yinyou organization? There are really many benefits." Yu simply threw him a random name. "Das Hun." Then she mounted her horse and rode away. She couldn't waste any more time, and needed to get to Nanzhong quickly. The waiter looked at the random name in confusion. Das Hun. Could it be? The next second, he excitedly ran towards the inn. "Boss? Boss? I saw our young master." The innkeeper's eyes lit up. Where? 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 "I haven't seen the young master yet." He stood up and was about to rush out when the waiter stopped him. "Hey, the young master, she's already gone." "Gone? Are ancient people so open?" "I actually saw the legendary Lily." As soon as Yu re-entered Nanzhong, she felt the deathly aura in the air getting stronger. Even the horse she was riding could barely endure it. Helpless, Yu had to dismount after reaching the edge of the ghost domain. Ordinary horses couldn't withstand this ghostly chi. If they forced their way into the ghost domain, they would soon die. She patted the exhausted horse. "All right, stop crying. You've worked hard. Go home." Seeing that she had let it go, the horse didn't hesitate to turn and run. Yuyu missed Bian very much. She wondered how he was doing. A rustling sound behind her caught her attention. A pale, ghostly claw emerged from the ground. Then, a bloodthirsty, red-eyed gal lunged at Yuyu. Yuyu simply raised her foot and crushed the gal's head with a single stomp, without expending much effort. It seemed the edge of the ghost domain only had low-level gals. But with her current strength, traversing this ghost domain wasn't a problem, so Yuyu continued walking deeper. From time to time, gals, attracted by the scent of her flesh, would rush to attack her. Yuyu didn't even need to draw her sword. She crushed one gal after another with her feet. The popping sounds echoed continuously. It's so satisfying to be a fifth realm cultivator. Yuyu felt like she was squashing bugs. Walking deeper, higher-level malicious ghosts started to appear. I didn't expect a human to intrude, and a little girl with so much spiritual energy at that, a malicious ghost hissed. They immediately pounced on Yuyu. They hadn't had a feast in a long time. Yuyu smirked. You want to eat my flesh? Let's see if you have the ability. She drew her dragon bone sword, and, without any special technique, casually sliced the malicious ghosts in half. 2 days later, Yuyu passed through the ghost domain and saw a seemingly normal city, with 2 soldiers guarding the gate. Finally seeing people, Yuyu was overjoyed. In the ghost domain, let alone living people, she hadn't even seen a single bug. However, just as she was about to enter the city to find a place to bathe, the 2 soldiers at the gate stopped her. Their expressions were strange. Miss, do you want to enter the city? Yuyu realized something was odd. Although there wasn't a gal tied along the way, there were still many gals. But this city seemed completely unaffected. The soldiers asked for Yuyu's entry documents. Learning she didn't have any, they directed her to the left area. Yuyu followed a soldier down a path on the left. Upon entering, Yuyu discovered the smell of blood here was even stronger than outside, and the place was filled with ghostly qi. Yuyu looked around. Although the inns were bustling with people, she felt they lacked vitality. She wanted to ask the soldier about the arrangements, but he seemed deaf, leaving her alone after bringing her into the city. Having no other choice, Yuyu continued walking. After a few steps, she saw someone wearing academy clothing. It was a girl with the character Yu embroidered on her sleeve. Compared to others, she looked quite normal. Out of curiosity, Yu followed the girl to a shop. Then, another girl in different academy clothing, with the character Chang embroidered on her sleeve, came out of the shop. Seeing the Chang girl, the Yu girl immediately called out happily. The Chang girl replied and led the Yu girl inside. The 2 held hands naturally in front of Yu, stunning her. Whoa! I actually saw a Lily relationship. Someone fell in love with a dog and is actually preparing to marry him. And the man, hugging a piece of wood, keeps calling it wife, wife. Yuyu's worldview was shattered. What kind of bizarre world is this? Just now, she had seen a legendary lesbian couple. As she was about to follow them to see how women dated, she heard a familiar voice ahead. She saw Zhao Jingwan, the princess of Nanguo, walking a dog. Speaking of ghosts, she thought, he's walking the dog on its front paws, and the dog is walking on its hind legs, just like a human. Yuyu was dumbfounded. Why is he here? And walking a dog like that? Zhao Jingwan walked right past her with the dog. Yuyu heard him say to the dog, hubby, do you want a big bone tonight? The dog seemed to understand and barked in response. Yuyu was stunned. Has this dog become a spirit? And why does Jingwan seem to not remember me? Although she found it strange, Yu still turned and chased after him, intending to ask. Hearing the call from behind, Zhao Jingwan and the dog both turned to look at Yu. Yu stared at the human-like dog. Then she saw Zhao Jingwan stand in front of the dog, looking at her warily. What are you looking at my wife for? Shameless pervert. He then angrily led the dog away. Yu stood there dumbfounded. He doesn't remember me, and is even guarding against me stealing his dog. Is this Jingwan princess crazy? However, what happened next made Yu wonder if the world had gone mad. She saw a man hugging a wooden statue, and repeatedly calling it wife, wife. She saw a young man calling a feeble old man son. Then she saw a seemingly teenage student claiming to be an old man, who had lived here for years, and telling people to call him grandpa. All these bizarre things made Yu's head spin. What kind of crazy world is this? Am I dreaming? She walked in a daze until sunset, numb from all the illogical things she'd seen. Unknowingly, she arrived at an inn. Yu decided to stay here for a few days to investigate. This city definitely had a problem, so Yu knocked on the inn's door. Innkeeper, I want a room. A waiter dressed in women's clothing, holding a handkerchief, looked at Yu in shock. Where did this hooligan come from, daring to harass me? Yu almost dropped the large gold ingot in her hand. Are you crazy? I'm a man, and you're accusing me of harassment. Before she could react, the waiter started screaming help. I'm being harassed. Yu could only retreat quickly out the door. Jian Shao wasn't done yet. His dustpan whirred, kicking up a small whirlwind, trying to sweep Yu back into the main street. Yu realized this guy was actually at the middle stage of the yellow martial realm. Then he saw Jian Shao slam the dustpan onto the ground. Lan Hua, clutching her skirt and looking utterly wronged, cried out, help. Someone. This hooligan is harassing a decent woman. A crowd of people emerged from the surrounding buildings and encircled Yu, hurling accusations at him. Yu was about to lose it. He glanced at the emotional manipulation points Jian Shao was racking up on his system interface. The crazy thing was, he was actually starting to feel harassed. Just then, Zhao Jinwan stormed out, fuming. It's him. He tried to steal my happiness earlier today. The crowd erupted in righteous anger. Good heavens. A repeat offender. Seize him. People grabbed whatever weapons they could find and chased after Yu. Cornered, Yu could hardly believe this was happening. He activated his demonic energy and ran. Help. That sign clearly says UGE Inn. I just wanted to stay at the inn. What is going on? The man, clearly a dwarf, yet claimed to be the emperor. He even ordered people to capture Yu. Yu was almost in tears, pushing his movement technique to the limit. Thankfully, had already broken through to the 5th stage, otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to outrun this mob. After running for several blocks, Yu found a blind spot and ducked into a narrow alley. Had just hidden himself when a group of people rushed past. Wow, these people really aren't going to give up until they catch him, are they? After making sure Head shaken off his pursuers, Yu breathed a sigh of relief, but failed to notice a figure in the shadows quietly picking up a broom. Who are you? How dare you try to steal my territory? The sudden voice startled Yu. He turned toward the source of the sound, but the sight before him left him speechless. Xie Rongshuan, dressed in ragged clothes like a beggar, stood there holding a broom, looking at him warily. The next second, she raised the broom and swung it at Yu. He wanted to cry. What was Xie Rongshuan doing here? Was she crazy too? Dodging the blow, Yu tried to recall. Had arranged for Xie Rongshuan to return to the Dark Division after faking her death in Jixia. But he didn't know when she'd been sent to Nanzhong. But she was a later-stage 5th stage assassin with years of undercover experience. How could she have fallen victim to this? There had to be something seriously wrong with this place. While he was thinking, Xie Rongshuan attacked again, swinging the broom at his head. Yu dodged with practiced ease. He suddenly jumped up and lightly tapped Xie Rongshuan's Maixing acupuncture point. A jolt of electricity surged through her, instantly paralyzing her. Yu had controlled his power, so Xie Rongshuan only collapsed. Looking at the unconscious Xie Rongshuan on the ground, Yu was bewildered. Whatever was behind this could even control cultivators' minds. What was their goal? Unable to figure it out, Yu dragged the unconscious Xie Rongshuan deeper into the alley. He propped her up against the wall, planning to find an inn and then come back for her. Night had fallen, but the streets were still crowded. Some people carried lanterns and sold window decorations. 2 men were fighting over a chicken, or was it a child? Only Yu seemed normal. Yu figured he hadn't been controlled, maybe because the manipulator wasn't powerful enough. Innkeeper, we need a room. Expecting a normal innkeeper, Yu looked up, only to see a pig. Yu was stunned. So this was the inn. He really shouldn't have expected anything normal here. Forget it. He was exhausted, but he wasn't sleeping with a pig. That was just too creepy. So, after wandering around, Yu returned to the alley where Xie Rongshuan was. He decided to spend the night there with her. Xie Rongshuan had regained consciousness. Seeing Yu, she yelled, "Insolent wretch! Get out of my territory." Yu's lips twitched. Thankfully, she seemed to have adopted a new persona. He just picked up a rag from the street. He didn't expect it would actually cost him money to buy. Just now, Yu was awakened by strange meows. He wondered what kind of creature it was. He turned to see Xie Rongshuan sprawled on the ground, meowing like a cat. Yu was speechless. This girl really didn't think of herself as human. He chopped her on the neck with a swift hand. He knocked her unconscious without hesitation, to avoid further embarrassment. Yu was losing patience. He'd been investigating this city for a day, and still hadn't found the source of the strangeness. If it weren't for the innocent civilians, he would have blasted the whole city with his lightning spear. He didn't believe the culprits behind this wouldn't show themselves then. A tall wall caught Yu's attention. He didn't know if it had always been there or if it had suddenly appeared. He had a bad feeling about it. He followed the wall to the city gate. He overheard voices, and one of them sounded like Suo Ruiya's. So the Xiaozhong princess was here too. Yu decided to check out what they were doing. He casually touched the wall. The next second, Yu felt a slight energy fluctuation from the wall. Although it was faint, he was certain Head felt something. This wall was definitely suspicious. At the same time, the noise at the city gate suddenly stopped. Yu found this strange. He quietly approached the gate and peeked outside. He saw the students, who were with Suo Ruiya, acting bizarrely. 2 of the men were playing children, scolding their husband. 2 others were kissing, apparently practicing their emotions. Suo Ruiya was crawling on all fours, barking like a dog, clearly believing herself to be one. Yu was stunned. This scene was too much. They walked right past Yu, each immersed in their own role-playing, as if everything was perfectly normal. But Yu was certain they'd been normal just a second ago. What had just happened? Distracted by them, Yu's hand unconsciously left the wall. The moment it did, the wall pulsed with energy again. Then, a small parcel, seemingly thrown from nowhere, rolled to Yu's feet. To say it wasn't intentional would be a lie. Curious, Yu picked it up. He opened it and his eyes widened. It was filled with gold. But he wasn't stupid. Someone giving him gold out of the blue was obviously suspicious, but who would refuse free gold? He stuffed it into his spatial ring. Then he looked at the paper wrapping the gold. It had a single line written on it. Payment for your lifespan. The next second, a black, ghostly aura erupted from the ground and wrapped around Yu, immobilizing him. Yu calmly took out a brush and paper from his spatial ring. He wrote 2 words. Not enough. He crumpled the paper and tossed it to the ground. The strange force holding him vanished. You think you can trap me? You're not even close. The system panel popped up, displaying demon subduing points. Yu smiled sweetly. So it was a demon trying to trick me again. Jackpot. Jackpot. Had just gotten a pile of gold, and now 3 free demon subduing points. Not bad at all. Yu had originally just wanted to find a place to sleep in the city, but had discovered this city had the power to turn people into fools. And the creepiest thing was the city walls, which emitted an unsettling aura. As Yu watched, the smooth surface of the wall rippled like water. He cautiously backed away. Although his current strength was enough to take on a Sky Martial Realm cultivator, caution was always a good thing. Several more parcels flew out of the wall. Yu caught them. Recognizing the wrapping, he knew there had to be something good inside. Sure enough, inside were more gold and precious stones. Clearly valuable. And the paper inside, as always, asked for Yu's lifespan in exchange. Yu unceremoniously stuffed everything into his spatial ring. Then he took out his brush and wrote his reply. Not interested. Don't bother me again. He then chuckled and threw the crumpled paper back. I'm the one who takes things from people. No one takes things from me. You little shrimp. The system panel displayed a surge of demon subduing points from the frustrated demon. Frustrated and failing to subdue him, the demon tried to flee. Yu finally saw its form. I didn't say you could leave. A powerful lightning bolt shot towards the demon, making it shudder. Because it was a high-ranking demon, and to avoid harming innocent people, Yu used his ultimate move, the lightning net, weaving a net of lightning. He threw it at the fleeing demon. His soul lightning had a natural advantage against demonic creatures, so it couldn't escape. The net trapped the demon against the wall, and Yu constricted it, making the demon shriek in pain. Yu, ever the showman, even used the lightning to scorch insults onto the wall, directed at the demon. The enraged demon filled the system with streams of points. Meanwhile, the Yong'an Academy students reached the city gate. Liang Jingqi held up their entry permits. We have entry permits. Let us in. The guards stared blankly. No entry permits. Walk to the left. Liang Jingqi and the others exchanged glances. They all sensed something was wrong with the guards. Just then, an enraged roar echoed from within the city. Damn humans. I'll kill you. The students were alarmed. They could sense the immense power behind the voice, far beyond what they could handle. The demon was screaming in agony as the lightning net tightened, barely larger than a dog. It desperately tried to break free. Yu continued to channel lightning into the net, his face hidden behind a mask so the awakened Xiao Rongshuan wouldn't recognize him. Because the demon was focused on fighting Yu, it neglected the demonic aura covering the city. It began to dissipate. The people inside suddenly came to their senses, looking around in confusion at the strangers around them. Suo Ruia, who had been crawling on the ground barking, abruptly snapped back to reality, frozen in place. The Dongbing Palace students around her stared at her in stunned silence, covered in dirt. Before they could speak, Suo Ruia stood up, her face dark with rage. She lashed out with her whip, striking those around her. She seemed intent on killing anyone who had witnessed her humiliation. Seeing its illusion broken, the demon decided to retreat. Little brat. When I get out, I'll tear you to shreds. Yinyou made a face at it. Bring it on. Who's afraid of who? It was finally time to get serious. Whether you're an ugly monster or a creepy demon, you can't escape my lightning. The demon struggled frantically, trying to break free. Yinyou continued to reinforce the net with lightning. He put on his mask to prevent Qiu Rongshuan, who had now regained her senses, from recognizing him. Forced, the demon finally jumped out of the wall. Damn brat. I'll kill you. The moment it left the wall, the structure, no longer sustained by the demon's power, crumbled, revealing the other half of the city. The ground there was covered in corpses, the blood staining the earth red. The air reeked of blood. A crimson orb floated above the carnage, greedily absorbing the blood and growing denser. It eventually flew towards the demon. It had slaughtered half the city to fuel its blood aura, which was how it had maintained the city's illusion for so long. Yinyou could sense the demon's power rapidly increasing, as it absorbed the blood aura, nearing its original strength. The awakened citizens screamed and fled in terror, chaos erupting. The commotion quickly caught the attention of the Yong'an students. They knew there must be a powerful demon at work within the city. We can't wait any longer. Liang Jingqi ordered, those at the middle stage of Yellow Martial Realm, come with me. The rest, go find reinforcements. Over a dozen Yong'an students rushed into the city. The sight inside shocked them. The city was split in two. One half was seemingly normal, while the other was a scene of carnage. Just as they were about to investigate, they were stopped. Qiu Rongshuan stood before them, ordering them to leave. She could sense the demon's terrifying power, far beyond what these Yellow Martial Realm students could handle. Who are you? Why are you stopping us? Qiu Rongshuan glanced at them. I'm from the Buyi army. Leave the city immediately. The students were stunned. Wasn't the Buyi army wiped out? Before they could process this, Qiu Rongshuan rushed into the blood mist without looking back. But just as she entered, a sword hilt flew out from the mist, and slammed into Qiu Rongshuan's chest, pushing her back. Yinyou retrieved his dragon bone sword. What are you doing here? Get out. Don't throw your life away. With that, Yinyou darted back into the mist. The next second, the sounds of fierce fighting echoed from within, but the mist was too thick to see what was happening. Qiu Rongshuan, seeing the mask on Yinyou's face, felt a sense of familiarity. She thought for a moment, and her eyes widened in realization. That's ECIS. General Yes mask. How is that possible? ISNT General Yi dead. Liang Jingqi quickly interjected, calm down. The voice is clearly female, but he found the voice strangely familiar. With this terrifying mask on, I'm invincible. All demons and monsters are just small fry in my eyes. The demon could only dodge Yinyou's relentless attacks. Although Yinyou could easily kill the demon, the newly acquired dragon bone sword was difficult to conceal. The demon was at the peak of the Zhuan martial realm, perfect for practicing with, and because Yinyou's lightning had a natural advantage against demons, he grew bolder. He intentionally let the demon fight back, using small bolts of lightning to block its escape attempts. When he was ready, he bound the demon's horns with lightning. The demon was instantly paralyzed, unable to move. Yinyou had already driven it to the brink of madness. Unbeknownst to the demon, this was Yinyou's plan. He needed to interrogate it. Yinyou didn't want to waste any more time. He closed the distance between them, his sword grazing the demon's chest. A deep gash appeared, blood spurting out. Yinyou flicked the blood off his sword and said coldly, "Tell me, what's your purpose in controlling this city?" The demon tried to flee. "You little brat, don't know what you are talking about." Its mind was broken, all it wanted was to escape. Yinyou narrowed his eyes. How dare it ignore him? He raised his hand, a bolt of lightning blocking the demon's path. The demon froze. He carved another wound on its back with his dragon bone sword. Honestly, if you just cooperated, you wouldn't have to suffer so much. Now tell me your purpose. I'm getting tired of playing with you. The demon finally broke. I'm cultivating the ghost decree. The demon race is restricted by the heavenly Tao. If we rely solely on killing and blood aura, cultivation is difficult and can backfire. Yinyou glanced at the crimson orb floating in the blood mist. Is it that thing? It looks disgusting. He remembered Yi saying that the inner regions of the ghost domain also had spiritual energy for cultivation, but demons in the outer regions could only rely on consuming humans, and their blood was likely a method to circumvent the heavenly Tao's restrictions. As Yinyou was thinking, the demon suddenly lunged towards the blood aura orb. Yinyou wouldn't let that happen. He fired a bolt of lightning. It hit the demon, paralyzing it. It crashed to the ground. Yinyou then flicked his dragon bone sword, sending the orb flying. You still want to absorb blood in front of me? No way. Yinyou pointed his sword at its heart. Half the city is dead, half are alive. What do you plan to do with the survivors? You could have slaughtered the entire city. But you didn't. Are you waiting for someone? Seeing its plans about to be exposed, the demon decided to fight its way out. The spikes on its back began to glow. 2 terrifying claws sprouted from its hands, and its body rapidly swelled. Even if it meant facing backlash, it would kill this brat. Yinyou wouldn't hold back any longer. He unleashed his ultimate sword technique, the Zhuoming First style. A blinding sword light shot skyward. It transformed into countless sword phantoms hovering in midair, all pointed at the demon. His identity as a transmigrator had been discovered. As Yinyou unleashed the heavenly spirit-level Zhuoming First style, sword light erupted into the sky. It transformed into countless sword phantoms aimed at the demon. The demon's berserk form faltered. It stared in disbelief at the dense sword phantoms. A heavenly spirit-level weapon. Impossible. You can't possibly have such a sword. You're not from this world. Who are you? Yinyou smiled cruelly. Who I am is none of your business. You're going to die anyway. Although Yinyou hadn't admitted it, the demon was certain. No wonder his aura felt different from other humans. He even suspected Yinyou might be from the divine realm. Realizing this, the demon turned and fled, desperate to escape. Why had it been so foolish as to provoke this monster? But it was too late. Countless sword phantoms rained down like a meteor shower, carrying an irresistible force. The demon didn't even have time to react before it was shredded into pieces, then vanished into thin air. Yinyou sheathed his dragon bone sword with a flourish. HMPH. Can't even handle a single demon. And you call yourself a leader of the Six Ghosts organization. But the top-tier heavenly spirit level G I bought 4 points was worth it. I didn't even need my soul skill to instantly kill this Xuan Martial TH stage blood demon. Truly overpowered, the Yong'an students, who had witnessed the entire scene, stared at Yinyou. He wasn't Yi. Then who was he? Screams and curses snapped them out of their thoughts. Suo Ruia was lashing out like a madwoman, whipping everyone around her, injuring many innocent people. It seemed she intended to kill everyone who had seen her humiliation. Liang Jingqi stepped forward. So this is the princess of Shaozhong. You weren't so brave when facing the demon, but you're eager to bully the innocent. Exposed, Suo Ruia snapped. She raised her whip and lashed out at Liang Jingqi. Who are you to lecture me? Just as the whip was about to hit Liang Jingqi, a sword light flashed, severing the whip. Yinyou, holding his dragon bone sword, jumped out from the crowd, his voice ice cold. You're not the one who gets to speak here. Without hesitation, he pierced Suo Ruia's throat. She never thought anyone would dare kill her. As Suo Ruia's body collapsed, a deathly silence fell over the street. Elsewhere, Yang Futong arrived with his troops, filled with self-reproach. If the Yong'an students hadn't come looking for him, he wouldn't have known about the horrific events happening so close by. An entire half of the city's population. Just then, the crimson orb flew towards him. He'd been urging his troops to hurry, so his mouth was open. The orb flew straight into his mouth. It lodged in his throat, choking him. He hammered his chest, and the orb slid down. The next second, a surge of power filled his entire body, along with the online trends. Failure to absorb it would lead to an immediate shutdown. Yang quickly dismounted, then began to cultivate on the spot. The 20,000 soldiers were dumbfounded. Wasn't he supposed to quickly go to the city and kill Zisui? Why did he suddenly start cultivating? Han Yanj is 10 years old, yet she is the leader of the nation's strongest army. With just a flick of her wrist, she dared to assassinate a princess. However, unknown individuals with ulterior motives surrounded him, swords drawn. Those who want to challenge her will